Recording. Are you recording?
Take 3.
Yeah,
right,
yeah.
I'll take my audio.
Got it.
Beautiful.
Right,
That's
and then
done.
for me, I don't know why we even do that, but anyway.
Right.
So,
Okay.
where were we? Yes, jet washing and stuff. So, yeah, not very exciting, but a useful a silver lining to this cloud that's over us, isn't it?
Absolutely. Shall we let people know what's actually gone on or not?
Yeah, I think we should, just in case we
folks,
reference it.
We recorded this yesterday, and after about 2-hour chat, almost, it was just over 2 hours.
It was good. We enjoyed it.
Yeah, we had a great time, didn't we? Beers were drank. We had a great time, and TMF stripped. It was awesome.
it wasn't that good.
when we checked the audio, sadly, one of us, I'll not say who, but one of us, our audio hadn't worked. It hadn't switched on. So we're doing it again. And
Okay.
cheers.
I'm sure it'll be better second time round. I'll tell you what, I've not been known for good audio. In the last live stream I did, which was with Chopsy, we did that about 4 times because I didn't have the mic turned on. This is the very mic, so I'm a little bit sceptical. I'm move it away a bit because I might be shouting into it. When I get excited, as you know, once I've had half a beer, and I have got a whole glass here,
Awesome.
It could get a bit echoey, so I apologise in advance. But so what have you been up to then during these dark times?
We chatted about this yesterday, didn't we? I mean, self-isolation, it's pretty much a video editor's life, isn't it?
Yeah,
so,
it absolutely
in
is.
all honesty, apart from not being able to get out on a bike recreationally, it's pretty much trying not to think about the greater picture, but everyday life is normal for me, really. I'm sat in my office, I'm editing, I've got loads of backlog of content going back like a couple of years, really. So
Yeah, brilliant.
I've got plenty, but it's all trips, and I don't want to overload you lot with Spanish trips, and look what you could have won, you know what I mean? But I get good feedback on the vids I've done so far for the trips, people saying it's a bit of escapism, so that's great to hear.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's a good time actually for that, isn't it? It's exactly what we can't do, so actually I'm going to move you slightly. Just again to explain to viewers, we're doing this in a very high-tech manner, and so I'm looking at Bruce in a different spot entirely to what I'm looking at you, so I apologise that I'm not looking at the camera, but that's because I'm looking at Bruce, I think.
Yeah.
Anyway.
That's right,
When we did our dry run yesterday, I think the mic was in the way of the camera the whole time, so you probably just saw my mic and not my head, didn't you?
Yeah, on this one, but I imagine the shot that people will see should be spot on. I'm the same. I've got a camera mounted up here, and then obviously our face-to-face is down here.
There must be a more high-tech way of doing this. So the other cloud, or rather the silver line to the cloud, is when we did the dry run yesterday, as we'll call it. God, I'm just checking. I'm still recording. Yep. I actually ran out of beers, which was annoying. And we're in self-isolation at the moment. I'm on day 8 of that, so over halfway through now because it's 14 days. But I'm glad to say, thumbs up to my neighbours. They went out, got me some beers.
You're kidding me? Seriously?
So yeah, exactly. So
Awesome.
we're all stocked up again. And yes, I thought, how are we going to do this? I've got no beers left. But people are stepping up to the plate.
They absolutely are. We chatted about this yesterday, didn't we? You know, like every cloud and all that. Yeah. It's really bringing out a really strong sense of community spirit in people. There's dullards out there, total fucktards, but they're the very minority. They're the total minority. They really are. Most people are starting to do what they're told and can kind of see the bigger picture here.
I completely
and the community
agree.
spirit is awesome.
I do think, in the main, and I suspect you'll back me up here because of your round the world trip. In the main, people, I think human beings are basically good things. Despite the fucktards, as I think you just called them, that are undoubtedly out there. In the main, most people are good people, aren't they? And will help out. So it's been very. I mean, we would have been in trouble without our friends and neighbours, and I didn't think we had that many locally, but it turns out they've come out of the woodwork. And in fact, we had 2 deliveries of groceries today without asking for it. So we're starting to get. I've got rather too many eggs now. If anyone needs any eggs,
Right to your house after this.
Yeah, exactly. Although we haven't asked for loo rolls yet, so that's going to be a challenge. I don't know how that's going. But have you been to the shops? I suspect by the fact we had 2 lots of groceries come today that they're getting better out there, and maybe the panic buying is slowing down.
I went last week. I went about 2 weeks ago because effectively we've pretty much been more or less self-isolating for 2 weeks now.
Yep.
Just the way it all went. Nikki was working from home. I'm always working from home, and we sort of just shut the doors last Monday,
Yep.
and like 2 weeks ago, just because we thought this has got potential.
Yeah.
And the Sunday, the last big shot we did on that Sunday, it was apocalyptic. It was ridiculous, you know. And then I went just under a week ago, and the shelves were pretty much stocked, and it was almost back to normal. Queues to get in, but
yeah. I don't mind that. We've got nothing else to do much, so queuing up's fine. I mean, I haven't been to the shops in the last couple of weeks because of this isolation thing, but I went. One of the reasons why I'm isolating is because I went to Spain 2 weeks ago, just the day before they declared the state of emergency. Obviously, I wouldn't have gone had I known that. And when I managed to escape, which it did feel like, the day before, we did have to go to a supermarket, and it was properly apocalyptic there, in that they were doing all the stuff that we're doing now, but in a much more serious way. They had police making sure that there weren't too many people in the shop. They were giving people masks and gloves when you went into the shops. I don't think they're doing that here.
Were they?
Yeah, they had. I suspect they're doing that here now, but they had marks on the floor where you had to stand by the till, so you were 2 meters apart, all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
So it was pretty apocalyptic. And then, as I say, managed to escape and come back. And as soon as we got back to Blight, it felt like nothing had changed. It was this. I'm talking 2 weeks ago, so possibly 3 weeks by the time you see this video, and of course the world might have changed again by the time you're watching this. But it was. I was stunned how we didn't seem to be taking it seriously. But now it feels like we are. So
absolutely, yeah. This last week things have changed massively, haven't they? And,
which they had to do.
Yeah, it did. It very much feels the calm before the storm at the moment. Like we know this big wave potentially of dare I say it, casualties is going to come, but
I mean it's
just a very weird feeling at the moment.
It is. It's the 28th of March that we're recording this. I think this is going out probably next week in about a week's time.
It will be, not this Monday, the following Monday.
Yeah, so things will have changed big time. By then, the hospitals, the new hospitals will be up and running, won't they? Amazing effort what they're doing with that one in Excel.
Astonishing.
Yeah.
Astonishing.
This is 4 weeks ago, was it? We were at the bike show there, and now it's a massive 4,000 bed hospital. Unbelievable. And similar things happening at the NEC in Brum, where we normally do Motorcycle Live.
There is, and I think up in Manchester as well.
Yeah, the GMX, and I think Glasgow as well, and possibly one in Ireland. Right. So, I mean, that's it properly feels like wartime spirit, doesn't it?
It does, and I just hope, I kind of hope that things aren't as bad as what they predict. I'm sure everybody joins me in those hopes, and we'll get through it. We said yesterday, we will get through this,
Yeah, absolutely.
It will pass, and we'll get back to.
And the other thing I think is possibly worth saying, I hope I'm not talking anything up here, but is not to panic too much. I know a lot of people get scared about this. I mean, it is scary.
Yeah.
So, for example, I mentioned I'm in isolation. That's because my daughter, we think, has the virus. She's asthmatic. She's a chronic asthmatic, and she's had the high temperature, 104 degrees a couple of days ago. It is starting to come down now, and at the moment she seems like she's getting better. So, we heard recently that Boris and also the Foreign Secretary have got it, and also the Chief Medical Advisor potentially.
Yeah.
But chances are they're going to get better, and the chances are that maybe a lot of us will get this, and a lot of us will get better. I think I've had it.
Absolutely.
I think I had it 2 weeks ago. I think I called it at the pub that you welched out on. When I went and met up with Richie Vida.
With Richie, yeah.
Yeah, we were that was before it was all again properly kicking off. We were aware that there was stuff happening around the world, but it wasn't really a thing here. We were very careful in the pub. I actually even took a bar of soap. How sad is that? And washed my hands many times, yeah. But I think that's probably where I picked it up. Or it could have been in Spain, or it could have been on a ski trip the week before. But anyway, it's sort of inevitable. But again, the point is, I think I then had it because I felt really fluey for about 5 days. And didn't think too much of it. But looking back, I was really achy. I didn't have a temperature or anything. But I think that might have been it for me. We'll see. If we get through this quarantine period, so I've got 6 days to go and no one else in the family's got symptoms, then we'll be back to the same state as everyone else. I'll have to buy my own beer.
Well, I keep saying this. We will get through it. It will pass. And we just got to make the most of whatever's left when we get through it, really. And it's going to be all hands to the deck, really, and work your nuts off. And
it's going to be fascinating, isn't it, actually? It's going to be fascinating. I mean, the things they've done with the economy have just been astounding. And also, it'll be interesting to see in a couple of weeks' time, because we're expecting the peak of casualties, aren't we, in a couple of weeks' time, to see whether we've managed to get enough ventilators, because what with Dyson making them and stuff, and the appeals that have gone out to manufacturers, I think that's amazing. So we'll see. We'll see. It's an interesting. I was watching. I don't want to get into any particularly politics, obviously, but I watched yesterday. I caught live Donald Trump's broadcast. I don't know if he's doing a daily one like the government are here, but it's a very interesting contrast watching the way Trump was talking about it versus how Boris and Co have been talking. Yeah, I recommend them to you. I say no more. Just look out for those and just see how he handles it. Very, very interesting.
I was saying to you yesterday in the first take of this,
the dry run. We're not. We didn't get it wrong, really. Yeah.
I was almost addicted to social media last week. The first week that this really broke, and I was constantly on my phone, like looking at all the different social media platforms, as you do anyway. Just for your own means. But it was just full of updates. And I've got to admit, by like Wednesday, I was petrified. I was sat here thinking, oh my God, this is going to be like World War Z. It's going to be apocalyptic. And it's not good for your health. And
no, so it's not.
This week, I've definitely made a point of, I'm following the government broadcasts at 5. I'm making a point to watch that.
Yeah, me too.
I've found that, love him or hate him, with Boris and that, I've found him quite a very... I'm not going to get political, but I've just found him a very steadying influence.
I agree, and at the risk again of getting political, you imagine if Theresa May was still at the helm. I mean, I'm so glad that it turned out to be Boris for this reason.
Yeah. It just feels like someone's steering the ship, doesn't it?
Yeah, you only need somebody that's a good leader and orator in these situations, don't you? Yeah. I mean, we all know he's a Churchill fan, but that's the sort of thing that you need at this time, isn't it?
Absolutely.
So
you need that staunch spirit.
Yeah. I agree. Anyway, we'll be careful about the politics.
Yes, let's move away from the C word. That's enough of that. And
exactly.
What we're going to do today, same as I did with Andy Mancam, I put it out to you guys across the social media. I said I was interviewing Andy, and I asked you for your questions. And by George, you've stepped up to the plate. We ran through a lot of these yesterday, so I'll put my hand up and I'll say you're not going to get genuine first reactions to these questions because we ran through quite a lot of these yesterday, didn't we?
I don't know. We could have different reactions. Let's give different answers this time.
Oh, yeah, we possibly could because I've thought about some of my answers since yesterday.
Oh,
I thought,
bother.
Maybe we'll see.
Ah, good.
Right. So we'll go on to my clan, you lovely people over on Patreon. I'm not going to plug it any more than this other than you guys are my lifeline at the moment and I thank you from the bottom of my heart.
I'm making one of those little gate charts. That's the first plug for Patreon, righto?
Yeah, that is it. That's all I'm doing because we do get a lot of abuse. I don't get too much, thankfully, but I know you get a lot of abuse for any
obviously
mention of Patreon. But that's that. John Boycott, what's the favourite video that either of you has made and why? For me, it's got to be Bike versus Planes. Loved it. Absolutely loved it.
Completely easy, this one. And we, again, sorry, I pressed a button there. I hope I didn't stop recording. I should check. No, seems to all be good. For me, it's ironic that the first question that comes up actually genuinely is the same answer for me as well. When we did that Bikes v Planes thing, it didn't get many views for various reasons, and it'd be interesting to hear your views as to why you think it didn't get many views in the comments below. We think it's because there were 4 or 5 of us. Who was there? There was 5 of us, wasn't there?
5 of us, yeah.
And we all basically published the same thing on all our channels. So I suppose you could argue that it was diluted 5 ways, wasn't it? The views. Yeah. In which case, if we added all our views together, they probably did all right. But perhaps we should do that actually and just see how many views we did get.
I think the problem there was that I did an edit, John did an edit, and then those edits were sort of dissipated.
I couldn't be asked to do an edit.
But yeah, there is that. But then we've all got the same footage. We're all going off of the same. So there's only so many ways you can make an omelette, isn't there? If you take cheese, eggs, and some ham, there's only so many ways you can cook that. So
true.
We've talked about this, haven't we? For hopefully we'll be doing some future work together and different ways we can maybe get around that. So watch this space, folks.
But despite the maybe lack of views and the fact that it didn't do quite as well as we thought it might do, it's still the best video I've ever been involved in, just because it was such great fun. The planets aligned that day, didn't they? It's the first time I've met Andy Mancam, so it was great to see him, especially as he's not in this country very often.
He's a lovely fella, yeah.
Great to meet up with Richie and John as ever. Us 4 get on like a house on fire anyway. So it was just like a bunch of mates having fun. Hopefully that came across on the video. Because of the way that things worked out, by the way, if you haven't seen the video, go and watch it.
I'll put a link somewhere.
Brilliant. Because of what the things way things worked out technically with the aeroplane, it made it actually a more genuine race, and nothing was staged about the thing, was it? And the other thing was just the planets aligned, because to organise that sort of thing takes a lot of effort, because I borrowed the aeroplane from a friend of mine, so getting that available and technically sound. That's another question. Is one thing. Getting the weather right so that you can fly. Getting a day when all 5 of us could actually meet. When all 5 of us had various different motorbikes available, which is the other great thing that happened, wasn't it? And the best weather of the whole year. It was like a 33-degree day or something, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So everything.
You couldn't have planned that any better. You know, if it had been a totally staged thing. Yeah. It was perfect, wasn't it?
Yeah,
but the
it
fact
was great.
that it was totally off the cuff.
Yeah, it was good. So the trouble is, if we come up with some other idea to do, and I've got loads of ideas of things we could do, it's just time and cost that always gets in the way of these things. It might be tricky to replicate such a greatness because the planets may not align. But we'll definitely try something. We'll do something or other.
Definitely.
Yeah, it was great fun. So that was a long answer, wasn't it? Who was that from? Was that John? Was that John?
That's
who asked
question
that?
one. That was John Boycott. That one.
Good question, John.
Dave
nice to think back to those days. Sorry, carry on.
Dave Pighills, he does like to chat. How do you plan to maintain sanity and avoid cabin fever in the coming weeks? Your masturbation habit must be taking a beating, pardon the pun.
I couldn't possibly comment. Well, another one of the massive clouds, as far as I'm concerned, on this whole thing is that I've had to go and rescue my kids from university, and although unbelievably, they haven't shut the universities. Can you believe this?
Seriously?
Correct. So I'm still having to pay their rent in towns across the country, even though they're back home here. Obviously, we want them at home.
That's insanity.
So they're doing online lectures.
Right.
But that's not quite as good as doing the real thing, of course. And of course now they're students, they're in that mind, so their online lecture might be at 9 a.m. Well, I haven't seen them before midday. Anyway, the point is they're now at home until probably September. In fact, I know. Well, October is when the new term starts. So their first year of uni has been somewhat disrupted, but that has also disrupted my let's say personal pastime activity. Let's leave it at that. So that is a massive flipping cloud. I'll tell you. Unbelievable.
This is definitely being used in the promo for this one. Oh, wow.
You raised the subject, mate. You're the one that said you're always in your study.
Yeah. So how are we going to maintain sanity? Well...
not that.
No, well, not that, yeah, because everyone's at home with their missus now, aren't they?
Well,
or their other half, their respective halves.
Yes, yeah.
Or thirds, or quarters, depends how you run in your family, who knows. But anyway, maintain sanity. Things aren't that much different for me, because...
the thing is, as you said, for you and I,
yeah,
we work from home anyway, doing this thing, which is pretty a solitary pastime, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
So, very little chance. I mean, in my normal life, I only see my missus anyway, occasionally. So that's it. So sanity is not really an issue. And also for us, again, the other great plus point of being a YouTuber and on social media and stuff, you get a lot of feedback from comments and things, don't you?
Yeah.
So, and that
absolutely.
continues, and maybe will be more. So I don't think you and I need to worry about that too much.
I have found that there's some issues with YouTube at the moment. Like I know people are commenting on vids, but there's only a very small fraction of those comments are coming through onto the YouTube Studio app. Because I know if I go on the browser, the web browser, and have a look, I can see there's loads of comments, but there'll only be 1 or 2 on my Studio app. Or if I go on the TubeBuddy app, I can see all the comments. Because I was thinking to myself, I normally have more comments than this. And, on social media, people are telling me they're watching the vids, and I'm like, it's not showing up on the
I wonder if there's a setting. 'Cause I hadn't noticed that, I must admit. I don't want to bore people with the niceties of YouTube stuff, but I hadn't spotted that, so maybe it's a setting or something.
Yeah, I put a thing on Twitter and tagged in YouTube and just said, is anyone else having this issue with comments not showing up on the app? And loads of people have said, yes, I'm having those.
So here's the thing, I better pay attention to that then. Better pay attention.
Yeah, I think just sheer volume of people that are now
Yeah.
on and streaming. There's so many people live streaming and stuff now that I think, you know, things are tight.
Because I thought that views might go up for YouTube because people are at home and want to watch more stuff, and people have been encouraged to watch box sets and all that. But I haven't noticed that. And in fact, my last couple of videos, and it might just be because they were rubbish. I don't think they were rubbish, but the views haven't been very good. So it makes me think maybe they were. So that's a bit odd. Or I'm wondering whether people are spreading out their watch sessions, if you see what I mean.
I think that, yeah, because there is so much content out there and people have so much free time.
Yeah, they're thinking, I'll watch Bruce tonight, but in the meantime, I'll
Yeah.
watch something else. That's kind of, I'm wondering whether that's happening over time. You'll still get the same views, just you don't get that initial ramp up that you usually get when you put a new vid out. So
That's it.
we'll see. I hope so. I mean, I thought about changing some thumbnails and things because again, I don't want to bore people with the nuances of YouTube, but one of the things, if you get a video that isn't performing as you expect, you can change the thumbnail, and it's a bit like the book of a cover of a book.
Yeah, that's right.
Or and that's a very important thing. So I did think about changing them, but of course, if you do that, people then think you've posted a new video because they think, I don't recognise that thumbnail. They'll watch it, realise they've seen it, and then have a go at you for posting the same video again. So
or they watch the first 30 seconds and then switch off, and your analytics plummet, and then YouTube goes, well, this channel's no good anymore, and gets rid of it.
Yeah, so we'll see.
First world problems.
Yeah, we'll see how that pans out. But I mean, I'm planning personally on producing the same. I do 2 videos a week. I shall continue to do that. Like you, I've got plenty in the can. I'm hoping I don't get loads of abuse because it looks like I'm out riding. It's not. They were recorded earlier.
Yeah, same. Yeah.
One of the things I've stopped doing, actually, I was putting in my description, this was recorded before the COVID-19 outbreak, and I think that might have been suppressing the views. So I've taken that out.
Because you mention it.
Yeah, so I'm not mentioning it now. Yeah. Anyway, let's not mention that again.
Yeah, exactly. That's the last we say of that C word. Peak Power, what's the best cleaning product you've ever used? Easy for me, S-Stock 100.
Oh, you mean motorcycle cleaner? Okay, I was thinking bollocks. Right, I'm surprised you didn't say beard
Half a
spunk
beer
initially.
Yeah, half a beer.
Apologies. I'm aware this is going out on your channel and not mine.
I love this. This is the real TMF.
Well, it's not quite. I am trying to tone it down somewhat.
People say to me, what's Andy really like? What's TMF really like? Because, no offence, but people go to me, why would you ride with him? Because, is he not a bit boring? And I'm like, no. He's
That's good.
Absolute
this is what we want them to think. Well, it's very kind of you, Bruce, to say so. What was the question?
Nice to see.
Cleaning products.
Cleaning your bollocks.
No, we're not doing that. Yeah. No. Did you answer it? Did you give your answer? I think you did. Because mine actually...
S-Stock for me.
I've got 3 favourite cleaning products. S-Stock is one of them. I'll tell you a story about that in a minute. Also Glim, massive fan of that. I've always used that. Before I was into bikes, I used it on my car, so I still sort of use that. And they have a big range of products that do all sorts of stuff. Their wheel cleaner is particularly good. Not that this is an advert. And then I also like Maguire's Gold Class shampoo because it smells nice. Which is an American product, I think. I've always been a big fan of that. So I switched between the 3. But S-Stock, coming back to that, I hadn't really heard of S-Stock until last year. When my mate Dan from, I do a series called Biker Scrown with Jeff and Dan is in the PR business, the motorcycle PR business. And last year he said, do you want to come on a press junket?
Explains a lot.
Well, indeed. He said, do you want to come on a press junket to where they make S-Stock in Germany? Yeah. And I said, look, to be honest, Dan, I don't really do press junkets. I think they're a bit... I've just got a bit of a thing about doing press junkets because it makes me feel like I'll be beholden to whoever I'm visiting
I get that.
To promote their product or whatever, and I don't really want to get into that. So I said, I'm not really that interested. Well, that was my initial thoughts. And they said, we're going to do a day at the factory. And I thought, that sounds dull as dishwater. And then we're going to ride for a day in the Bavarian Alps. And I thought, hang on, I've never ridden in the Bavarian Alps. And you can choose any bike.
A turn for the good.
Exactly. So I said, as it's you, Dan, I'll break with tradition and I'll do it. So anyway, so I did the trip, and the trip in the Alps was brilliant. And actually the press guys were great who I met, and we had a right laugh. It was good fun as it turned out. But the thing that surprised me was the trip to S-Stock wasn't dull as dishwater as I expected, but really interesting. We met the chief guy that makes all the formulas, Dr. Can't remember what his name was, but the company that makes S-Stock is actually called Dr. Vac, which I think is hilarious, the name. But anyway, I hadn't heard of them. So we went to this place called Dr. Vac, and we met Dr. Vac, effectively, the guy that mixes the potions and lotions. And I didn't realise the amount of testing that goes into these products. They don't just come up with... a few cleaning bits and bobs, chuck it together, say, here's a motorcycle cleaning product. They do proper testing. So they'll take all the leading competitors, and of which there are about 10 that they use as like a benchmark. And then they do all sorts of testing over a period of, if they're going to bring out, say, a new cleaner, it'll take them 18 months to develop the formula, and it takes time because they're testing what they think is going to be a good cleaning formula on every material that could possibly be on a new motorcycle, and then see over, they have various methods to simulate time and weather and stuff to see how it works. So, it will see if the product damages rubber, aluminium, bronze, every possible material. Anyway, I could go on and on about how they did it because it sounds a bit boring, but when you see it in action, actually, it was quite interesting. But the point is, they take it very, very seriously. So I was thinking, one cleaning product is much like another. You have your favourites, your Auto Glims and your Maguires, but actually, they're not all the same. Many of them are like white label. So you might have seen, I don't want to pick any in particular, but let's say Guy Martin's product. I don't know, but I'm pretty sure he just buys that, all the people that run it for him, buy some product from China, slap a Guy Martin label on, it's called white labelling, and then sell it on. Fair enough. I even thought about doing a TMF cleaning range at one point. I may still do that. But the trouble is, if it is white label, they haven't done that testing. You don't know what actually is in there. And although it might seem to work well to start with, 18 months later, you might be getting corrosion on your bike engine cases and wonder why.
Massively backfire for you, yeah.
Exactly, and that's why. So I now have complete faith in S-Doc. Any of their products, I use something called I think it's just called S-Doc 100 motorcycle cleaner, actually. You spray it on a cold, dry bike, and then you rinse it off. There are other cleaners that claim to do the same thing, but S-Doc, it really does come up clean, providing the bike's not too soiled.
Yeah, we had this chat yesterday, didn't we?
I had to mention that word.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sort of notorious for a lack of a cleaning schedule. So
I'm shocked by that and somewhat disturbed that you left your original GS for about a year, didn't you, before you cleaned it? I think you crashed it and rode it off before you cleaned it.
I think I did, actually, yeah. I think normally, without exaggerating, I'll probably wash my bike 2 or 3 times a year, I think, maybe. And I use my bike every single day. So
this is wrong, man. This is just wrong.
But when I do wash it, I spend probably 5 or 6 hours on it.
Okay, so you give it, and S-Doc works even with one as crusty as that, does it?
Yeah, it's S-Docked. It's, mind you, I've had some people. There's a chap that lives fairly local to here. He's got a product called Clean My Ride, I think it's called.
I thought you say Clean My Bollocks, right?
Or Clean My Bollocks. Yeah. So I've been using that, and it's good. It is good.
Yeah.
I'll put my hand up and say it's not as good as S-Doc. It
is it? I wonder if that's a white label job.
I'm not sure, actually, but it needs a little bit more effort and more time and more applications to get the sort of outcome you get with one application of S-Doc.
Yeah. I mean, I don't want to be into massive S-Doc promotion because that was the whole point of me not going on that trip in the first place. Yeah. But I'm sure other people like the Auto Glims and the Maguires of the world, the big proper, car and bike care manufacturers do similar levels of testing. It's the ones that you've not heard of before that I just wonder. I mean, they might be white labelled by a good company. So, for example, S-Doc do white label cleaners for Porsche. So, if you buy a brand new Porsche, you'll know this, Bruce. If you buy a brand new Porsche, you get a nice cleaning kit with it, apparently, and it's all branded Porsche, but it's actually S-Doc cleaning stuff. Yeah. So, and they use last year's formula, so they don't use quite the up-to-date one. But the point is, if you're using Porsche stuff, it's pretty good because it's S-Doc, but you don't actually know, do you?
Right.
So my slippers come off. This is terrible.
The what has?
My slippers come off. Carry on.
Just get your servant to pop it back on for you.
I wish.
We had this, obviously, we've had all these questions before, but Pete Power asked, Bruce, hand on heart, GS6R or GS? We chatted quite in depth about this yesterday, didn't we?
I'm sure we'll do it again. It's a bloody obvious answer as well. Don't beat about the bush, man.
It's got to be the GS.
Yes, of course.
Just because it does almost everything, like 90% well for me. You know, I can tour on it. I can do a track day on it. I can commute on it. I can literally
fall off it.
I can fall off it. I can
crash in it.
If I'm forced kicking and screaming, I can go off road on it. It just does everything. I literally, when we go away and do these, get the opportunities to fly places and do stuff, I literally take my massive, great big suitcase and I bungee it onto the back of the GS and I ride that to the airport. It's just, I can do everything with that bike, and I can do everything pretty much comfortably. Yeah. And, it's good weather protection. It does the job for me, and I actually like the look of it.
Yeah, it's grown on me, actually.
I used to hate it, but I love it now.
Yeah, they've got a sort of rugged look about them. I must admit, I do like the look of them as well. I think you either like or hate the looks of them, but I like them. But when you describe bikes as, great at everything, often that means it's boring as hell, doesn't it? But actually, in the case of the GS, I don't find that is true, and particularly with the new 1250 with the the shift cam engine, which is a bit more sporty,
I love
isn't
that.
it?
I love that.
So yeah, I mean, I'm the same. I'm lucky enough to have 6 bikes. Well, I've got 7 bikes in the garage at the moment, and one of which isn't mine. I hasten to add, but I aim to make it so. But it's by what's that? The possession is 9/10 of the law and all that. Wonder how long I need to keep it to make it mine. It's the Triumph 900 Tiger, by the way. Nice. So I've got one of those in at the moment, which is good. But out of all the bikes in there, with possibly that exception, the GS is the one that I would have if I could only have one bike for sure. It's possibly a boring answer, but they're just great at everything, and they're comfortable, and depends what you want to do with your bike, I suppose. I mean, I like touring, and for me, again, like you, I don't like off-roading particularly. I think it makes you a better rider if you do some, but I actively try and avoid it. But everything else, it's great, even though it is a sort of a big traily style bike. As a tourer, it's unbeatable, comfortable. You can lug your kit, as you said. It's got plenty of go. I like the low centre of gravity. I hate the boxer engine in terms of the weight, the cylinders poking out the side. I hate the look of that. But
I love it.
Well, there's no doubt. You like the look of it?
Honestly, I do. Yeah, and
really.
I used to hate everything about GSs. They were like the Antichrist to me, and now I'm a total convert. Love it.
It's funny how that happens, isn't it, when people ride them? Yeah. So when I say, just to clarify, on the boxer engine, I don't like the way it looks. But I do like the way it rides. The fact that you've got pretty much instant torque. It's grunty. You can ride it lazily. You can leave it in like 4th gear and ride slowly, and it doesn't complain that much. So yeah, all that stuff I do like. And it's got a bit of character as well, actually, isn't it?
I think it does. Yeah, absolutely. And Gixxers will always have a place in my heart. You know, I've still got the beast that I took around the world, and I'll never get rid of her.
Do you still ride it occasionally?
It's not roadworthy now. It'd need an MOT, and in order to pass the MOT, I would need most of the fairings are held on with bungee cords and cable ties. I use cable ties to basically net.
Yeah, I remember you doing that.
Fairings back together.
Yep.
So to get it, and the whole tail section is held on with a bungee net, basically. To get that through an MOT, I'd have to change all the fairings, and I just want to keep her the way she was when when we finished the trip.
Yeah,
we did the trip together. We finished the trip together, and I just want to leave her the way she was. So
yeah, fair enough. Yeah, brilliant, great stuff. Good.
Right, Vernon Whitney. Of all the bikes you've tested, which have you been sorely tempted by but not bought?
Oh, great question. I don't think we had this one yesterday, did we?
Well, Vernon Whitney, he's got about 10 questions all rolled into one paragraph, so I've just picked another one.
Okay, great. So well done, Vernon. We answered many of your questions yesterday, which you won't know the answers to. Do you want to go first, or shall I? Because I know the answer to this one.
Yeah, you go.
Okay, so for me, it's very easy, and it's an easy reason why I didn't buy it as well. But for me, and again, I could get slammed for this, but it was the Honda Goldwing. What an amazing bike that is.
Not ridden that yet.
Oh, you got to ride it, Bruce. I tell you, a bit like you thinking the GS was the Antichrist. I always thought with the Goldwing, what is that all about? You might as well just get a car. But I rode the latest one, or it came out last year. I mean, it had that big facelift, and within 20 yards of riding it, I thought this is no doubt the best bike I've ever ridden. Unbelievably
Seriously?
Brilliant. Absolutely loved it. Wow. And I'm really chuffed that I'm getting, well, the world has changed, so maybe not now, but I was due to be getting in the summer the new Goldwing for Honda UK. Were going to lend me one for, I think, about 6 weeks. It was a really long loan, and I was going to take Mrs. TMF on a tour of Wales on the back of it, because it's just a beautiful bike, and I was so looking forward to that. And that's one of the things that I guess has been cancelled. Hopefully I'll be able to do it next year, maybe, or maybe in the winter, and we'll try the heated seats. And the reason why I didn't buy it is because they're 30 grand.
Yeah, it's a lot of money. It's a lot of money. It's quite a reason not to buy it.
Well, yeah, I have put a word in with Honda, though, because they said their press fleet does become available for sale at the end of the year. I said, well, bear me in mind for that one.
So you would genuinely buy that? Wow.
I absolutely would. Yeah.
So I'd actually, again, a matter of weeks before all this happened, I just started chatting with Honda UK as well, and they'd said about the Goldwing, because I have never ridden a Honda, any Honda.
Really?
Never ridden.
Oh, you got to put that right. You got to put that right, mate. Oh, there's some amazing Hondas. Definitely get those done. You'll love the Fireblade. Yeah, you'll love that. That is an amazing bike. Well, all sports bikes these days are good, aren't they? To be fair.
Yeah,
I mean, name me a leading manufacturer that has a crap sports bike. They don't. They're all good, aren't they?
Oh God, I can't think of one, but I bet you there's people screaming at their screens right now.
Of leading manufacturers, I mean, if you think of any of them, all the big four Japanese ones, they're all good. I mean, I know some people slag off the GSX-R 1000, don't they? But when I rode it, I thought it was brilliant.
Oh, I think the new one's awesome.
The Panigale V4 is amazing. The BMW S1000RR is unbelievable.
That's the one for me.
They're all. I mean, but they're all. I mean, you could live with any of them. They're all really good. It's just very marginal things as to what you prefer. I mean, for me, it'd be between the BMW and the Ducati, and I'm not sure which way I'd go. But they're all good. I mean, I'd be happy with any of them. They're all absolutely great. So anyway, what was the bike for you then that you rode that you would have bought?
I've not actually ridden that many bikes.
Right.
I really haven't, because I don't do that, or I haven't done that many test rides.
Right.
It's not something I'd done on the channel that much before. I just started to pick up last year doing more test rides.
Yep.
For me, out of everything that I've ridden so far, it's the S1000RR. I almost bought the bike when I brought it back from doing the test ride.
Yeah.
I was like a giggling little schoolgirl, basically, and I was riding back to Cooper's in Tunbridge Wells, little plug there. I was.
You haven't mentioned Patreon for a while, by the way, have you?
I was.
I'm going to put that down as another one. I know it's me plugging it, but there we go. We put it down.
I never mentioned the P word.
No, okay.
And I actually phoned my missus. I phoned her on the cardo and just said, this is going really well. I really like it. And she was like, oh yeah. What time will you be home for tea? And I was like, no, I really like it.
I think you've got to be explicit here, Bruce.
My missus has never, ever said no to me about anything to do with bikes, ever. And she just turned around and she was like, no, you cannot do that just now. Just take a step back and think about it.
The fun police. Ooh. They always stop you. How
the thing
annoying.
Is, she never does. She never stops me going away on any trips. She's never.
Well, I can understand that.
Bikes, you know. Well, yeah. But this time she was just like that little voice of reason on my shoulder.
Yeah.
Okay.
What a shame. I'm not sure it is a voice of reason, but well, again, there is, isn't it? Because I mean, I can't remember off the top of my head, but they're like a 20 grand motorcycle, aren't they? It's a lot of money to.
Yeah, they are. Yeah.
I mean, that's
that bike is actually the reason I am no longer a police officer.
Really? Okay.
It was that review that I got the complaint. And,
what a bloody nuisance!
It went from there.
And you still love the bike?
Oh well, I love it. Yeah, I think it's awesome.
On that subject, actually, can I ask you a question while we're in the questions mode? So, how long now is it since you left the cops, and do you miss it?
I left on my official last day was March the 21st. Literally it was a day before all this broke here, basically. Before it all went Pete Tong here.
Right.
I miss the lads and lassies that I worked with. I miss the camaraderie. I miss the sense of humour, because Old Bill, emergency services, again, very similar to the military. I've worked with loads of people who are ex-military. We've all got a similar sense of humour.
Yeah,
it's a very dark, perverse sense of humour.
I can imagine.
A lot of time, normal people don't get it. Because you have to. You know, you deal with horrific things. You deal with intense situations, incredibly frustrating situations, and you have to develop that mentality of just taking the piss out of everything. I miss that. I miss the crack, but I don't miss the organisation.
Right. No. Well, I bet, given what happened to you.
It wasn't just that, you know. Things have changed a lot, as I'm sure they have everywhere, and everyone in any kind of job who's been there for a length of time will see change coming in, I'm sure. But for me, there were things happening in the Old Bill that I'd seen happen over the sort of 18 years that I'd been in, that just to me it was alien to what I thought the police was and why I thought I was there. To me, it didn't feel like I was there to detect crime, prevent crime, solve crime, help people. It didn't feel. I just felt like I was some sort of puppet for the organisation now, and it really, I found it very frustrating.
Okay, so maybe it was time to go anyway. Maybe this is a blessing in disguise.
Was. Yeah, it was. I mean, I hadn't felt right in that job since I came back from the round the world trip. I just felt I'm not the same person anymore, and I just thought I don't fit in here now. I fit in with the people I worked with, but I didn't fit into the organisation. I wasn't what they wanted anymore. You know. I'm a bit of a dinosaur in my, not mentality, but in my approach to things and what I think is right and wrong. I'm quite a traditionalist, so
Nothing wrong with that.
It just doesn't feel like.
Well, they're lost, Bruce. They're lost, mate. Anyway.
Exactly. It's happened,
Well,
isn't it? And you got to move on.
Yeah, yeah. Well, being a YouTuber is not a bad thing, is it? Provided you can make some money to live, of course.
That's the massive problem, innit? You know, literally the day before all this happened, I was getting asked all the time by people, "How you finding it? How's it going?" And I'm like, "I'm living the dream. I'm loving it." You know, I'm not making as much money as I was in the old bill because I used to spank the overtime. But I was like, I can make enough to survive here, and it's only ever going to increase as the channel develops.
And you know, wouldn't guarantee that, but yeah.
But you know, I was just like, you know, I am literally living my own little dream. I'm doing what I want to do, and I'm loving it. And then literally the next day, sponsors were all like, "We're going to have to pull out after next month," and tours all got cancelled, and it was like, "Oh my god!"
Well, although we said we weren't going to mention the C word again, but I think that's the case for everybody, isn't it? I mean, it's as our friend Boris said the other day. Oops, straight into politics there. You know, there is going to be some hardship for all of us, and it doesn't matter what you do and what position you're in. There's some shit to deal with, and you know, you and I both have our own. Everybody has shit to deal with, don't they? It might not hear it when you watch YouTube channels, but of course we do. But in the main, you know, it's great to be doing something you love doing, spending your time doing something you enjoy. That'd be my one bit of advice to, you know, kids thinking about what should I do as a career. I'm not saying become a YouTuber, but just find out what you like doing and then do that. Absolutely. and then you're going to have a happy life, and that's the way it works, I think. Because
definitely.
You know,
hard work pays off.
Oh yeah, I don't think absolutely
so much easier to put the work and the energy and the commitment in if it's something that you enjoy.
Yeah, 100%. That was the error I made. When I left uni, I just chased the money, and it's meant that I've ended up with a really nice life. But it does mean I'd spent 25, 30 years basically doing something that I didn't like at all. Again, I like the people. We had some laughs, but you know, when you're spending 8-10 hours a day doing something that fundamentally has no joy in it, that's no way to spend your life, is it? So,
no.
Crikey, look at that! I've had half a beer, and the philosophy is starting to come.
I know.
Quick, another bite question.
Right. Oh, do you know, I was just away to read this question and I realised you put it on there. What is TMF's beauty secret? Oh, this was a good one.
You've either got it or you haven't.
Remember this one yesterday when we did the initial run at this? Pete English, what's invisible but you wish people could see?
That's deep, isn't it? That is deep.
Yeah,
and unexpected from Peter. I have met Pete a few times. Yeah, what are you on, Pete? Yeah, you had a good answer, didn't you? I had a crap one.
I'm trying to remember.
Mine was my bollocks again, I think. But
I haven't seen them in it. Not yours, my own. I haven't seen them in a long time.
Diet required.
I wished that you could see what people really meant.
Oh, that's deep.
By what they said.
That's good. I like that. Yeah. So sort of motivation behind what they're saying. Yeah.
Yeah. Just what did they actually mean when they said it? For a couple of reasons. One is because you get mongrels out there that will say one thing but are actually meaning another. But there's the other things where you get people will say something, but you can take that totally the wrong way, can't you? And the internet is a prime example. When somebody leaves a comment, and sometimes you can read it, depending on what mood you're in, you can read it and just think, "Oh, you saucy bugger, what do you mean by that?"
And also, particularly,
and you can snap at it.
Yeah, and particularly because the internet is an international medium, you can get somebody where English isn't their primary language.
Absolutely.
They'll write something to you, and they might mean it, I like to think, in a perfectly nice way, but it comes across really bad. Or maybe even vice versa, I suppose. So that's a great answer. That is.
I much prefer face to face. You know, like this. You know where you stand, don't you? Because you can read people. Of course you can. Of course you can.
Yeah. And, indeed. So my answer to that one from yesterday from Pete was what the question was. What was the question again?
What's invisible but you wish people could see?
Oh yeah, that was my wife's farts, wasn't it? That's right. It's not to be fair.
You answered that.
To be fair to my angel, it's a very rare occurrence, but when it happens, you need to stay clear. Anyway, that's terrible. Edit that out, Bruce, because that'll be terrible.
No, I won't. Okay, mate, she's going to kill you for that.
You can leave it in, mate. I only said that, so I at least asked you to take it out. But that's fine.
I'm gonna put that in a promo.
But don't send it to her. Actually, talking of angel cake, I needed to get me another beer. I wonder where she is. Hang on, just while you're looking up the next question, I'm going to shout. You watch how I've got this under control. Okay. Carol, my angel.
TMF's going to get knocked out in a minute.
Carol! Angel cake! Oh, bloody hell. Flipping ignoring me. Outrageous. If I wasn't talking to you on the phone, I'd send her a stern message.
Texter, WhatsApper. Yeah. Right, Pete Budgeon. When reviewing bikes, which ones, if any, have disappointed you?
Oh, that's a dangerous question, isn't it? I don't remember your answer from this yesterday. I might have rambled on. Let's hear your answer.
I think for me, just thinking of it now, I think it was the BMW S1000 XR, and the reason was that I was a total sports bike nut, but I'd moved on to the adventure bikes, and the S1000. Oh, look, Thank you, wife. Very much, Mrs. Teapot.
Blow, I was louder than I thought. I'm gonna have to get my own beer. This is outrageous.
Oh,
actually, to be fair, I think she might be in the garden, so she wouldn't have heard me there.
Well, this is for me and you then.
Okay, thanks.
There we go.
Actually, while you drone on about that bike, I'm going to get me another beer. I won't be a moment.
Okay, I'll talk to you guys then. Yeah, for me, it was. I kind of thought the 1000XR would be the best mix of sports bike and adventure bike, and that's, to be fair, that's what it's marketed at. But I just found I was just sort of left a bit cold, really. The inline 4 engine it's fast, it's supersonic fast, but it didn't do anything. It didn't have the bollock tingling that I like from a bike. So yeah, that was it for me. S1000XR.
That's wrong, mate. Bollock. I have a problem with this whole thing. Sometimes when people say a bike is sexy, what are they? They're not looking at the right stuff. I love motorcycles.
It's the feeling it gives you.
What?
You know?
What, it gives you a hard on? Is that what you're saying?
Like you're sort of 16 again, you know? It's just that I am loving life, this is awesome, just I don't ever want this to end. That feeling.
Okay. Still not getting it, mate. Anyway,
do you not get that?
No, I don't. I've never found any inanimate object, with the exception maybe of... Let's stop. To be a sexual item.
It's not.
In case you're wondering about the exception, by the way, it was. You got to admit, stilettos are pretty good. Any woman looks better in those. Anyway.
Oh, well, absolutely. Yeah, I thought you meant you wearing them, but no, yeah, yeah.
Don't knock it till you tried it, Brucey.
Mate, I'm nearly 20 stone.
Maybe not in your case. Do you imagine the force? Your tarmac would be ruined, wouldn't it?
I would just go straight through sheer concrete. Yeah.
Silly, that's incredible. Ouch.
Okay, yeah. Which bikes disappointed you?
Well, I would caveat this answer with pretty much all bikes are good, aren't they? And one of the criticisms you often get, or I get, I assume you do as well. You said you didn't ride that many bikes, but is that whenever you ride a bike, you always say it's good and you've got nothing bad to say about it. And that is because most new bikes are just darn good. And I challenge anybody to ride a new bike and say that it's not. But anyway, some are better than others. And there have been one or two that I haven't particularly gelled with. So one was the... I couldn't remember what it was called. It wasn't a Moto Guzzi. Was it Moto Guzzi? Anyway, the
V80 Augusta.
Yeah, that was it. No. Yes, that as well. Sorry, I'm with you. So first one was the... Let me write down MV Augusta. So in fact, there's three now. I'm going to offend three manufacturers. So the first one was the Moto Guzzi V85 TT, which is an adventure bike, which I thought I was going to really like. It's the V twin with the cylinders that stick out the side. So a bit like the Boxer. I just don't like the cylinders poking out the side. But that notwithstanding, I thought I might like that. It's sort of a retro adventure bike. Didn't get on with that particularly well. It just didn't seem to have much power and stuff. And I know people really love those bikes because they're very quirky. But it just looked like Orville the Duck, and the more I rode it, the less I liked it. So that's one. The next one that was a real surprise to me was the Ducati X Diavel. You know, the big cruiser. Because I love the look of that. Yeah, I love the look of that thing, and I thought I was going to really love that. I haven't ridden many cruisers, but that one, sadly, the more I rode that again, the less I liked it, which was a real shame, because I thought that could possibly be... I mentioned before, I'm lucky enough to have 6 bikes in the garage, and I try and cover as many genres. So I've got dirt bike, adventure bike, a naked sports bike. You know, I try and cover retro. I try and cover the bases. And the one glaring error or omission I've got is a cruiser. So I'd like to, if I buy another bike at some point, then it would be a cruiser. But and I thought it might be the X Diavel. So sadly, it ain't going to be that. That upright riding position, your feet forward, it's all wrong. What is it that Americans get with that thing? You and Harley Davidson.
I 100% agree with what you're saying until I rode one.
Yeah.
I've just recently started doing some things with Guildford Harley, and I turned up for a chat with them just to see what we could probably do in the future. And he said, "Have you ever ridden a Harley?" So I said, "No, never." And he just basically went, "Okay, there's no point in us talking until you've ridden one." And he just threw me the keys and said,
Brilliant.
"There it is, it's outside."
Did
So
he
I
give
went
you the leather
outside.
chaps?
Yeah, that's it. And the handlebar tash, everything.
Yeah.
The whole bandana, the works. I walked outside and it was the Harley. I've got a vid on it. It's the Harley Street Glide Special, which, as we discussed again yesterday, didn't we? It's like taking a Goldwing and mating it with a 1950s Cadillac, with the it's got big massive fairings on it and big long sweeping sides. It's gorgeous. I never thought I would say gorgeous. When I saw it in the flesh, I was like, oh God, I'm not going to ride that. And within about a nanosecond of sitting on it and moving, I was like, I love this bike.
Well, it's very much like my experience with the Goldwing. Probably the same sort of thing. Maybe we're just getting old, mate. This is outrageous.
I don't know, but I just found myself. You'll see when the test ride video comes out.
I look forward to that.
The whole time I'm going, I can't. This doesn't compute. I can't figure this out. I'm loving it.
Yeah.
I wasn't overtaking cars. I wasn't gunning it. I was just cruising along, and I was blissfully happy doing it.
Yeah, fantastic.
It's like,
yeah.
this makes sense. Yeah.
So I mean, I'm ashamed to admit I know very little about Harley Davidsons. I've never ridden one. I think it's the only major manufacturer that I have not ridden. I must put that right, because I have absolutely nothing against Harleys. I love the engineering, the looks of them, incredible. And I also get that I've had people comment to me saying, "Oh, you're going to hate a Harley if you ride it because they're very words like agricultural or basic come to mind." But I actually quite like that on bikes. So. Yeah, the bike of choice at the moment that I ride out of my garage is my Royal Enfield Interceptor. It's basic and it's thumpy, but I love it. So I think maybe I'd really, really love a Harley. So I've got to have a go on one, but I don't know much about them. So you rode the Street Glide. I don't really understand the way that the models work. I need to do some. I can't be that hard. I just need to study up on it.
If you go onto the Harley Davidson website, which I did to find out the spec, because I knew nothing about the bike, even during the test ride, I had no idea even what size engine it was.
Yeah, cracking video. I'm looking forward to this one.
Yeah. So I went onto the website to have a look, and there's about 86 million different versions they do of the thing.
Yeah.
So there's so many different bikes there.
Yeah.
And then there's the whole custom side of it. It's like a whole subgenre to biking. I get it now. I understand the Triumph, the Harley thing now.
What the whole hog thing? You mean the?
Yeah,
I don't get that bit. I must admit. I mean, I'm not anti-Harley, but I am a bit odd about. Again, maybe I just need to ride one, and maybe I'll see the light.
Ride one. Just ride one. Go into a good dealership and take one out for a spin. But it's. I don't know. It's corny. It sounds really corny, but you feel like you're part of something. You're part of something within biking. It's weird. It's weird.
Yeah, that is a bit odd, but I'll give it a try. I'll trust you on that one.
There's a massive social side. That's all I'll say to the whole. Every person I know that has a Harley, their dealership has a huge social side to the dealership, which is great. It's good.
Yeah.
And people aren't necessarily just on Harleys. There's people rocking up at these events on all different sort of.
Probably not a GS. I must admit, the old leather chaps bit does appeal. Maybe I'll just get the chaps and ride the GS. How hated could you be?
What do you mean, get the chaps? You've already got them.
Okay.
It's in his merchandise line.
Hey, some TMF chaps. What a great idea.
See what he's wearing underneath the desk.
If only you knew.
Yeah, I don't want to know. So I'm just going through all the questions here.
Yeah, it's great that you got so many.
Here we go. Nick Turnbull. At what point do electric motorcycles become a serious alternative to the internal combustion engine?
What a great question. Who went first last time?
I think it was
me.
Last time.
It was me, okay. It was me. Right. You go for it.
Okay. We chatted about this yesterday, and with the new ranges that are coming out this year, 2020, by Zero and Energica, they're your two main manufacturers really for the electric bikes,
and Harley, of course.
Oh, Harley's just brought out the live wire. Yeah, I was supposed to be taking that out, but
although curiously, sorry to interrupt, but they've stopped making it. Did you know that?
have they?
Yeah. Oh. Isn't that bizarre? Anyway, carry on.
Oh, that's interesting. Wonder what went on there. The big thing with me was range, practicality, and range. And this year, the minimum projected range that they're advertising on any of their bikes, Zeros or Energicas, I think is around the 160 mile mark, or 100 and. So it's either 130 or 150, 160, something like that. That's the minimum, and it goes up to about 250 miles.
I wonder how. I mean, that's amazing, isn't it? Because that's a
It's
proper
phenomenal.
range, isn't it? That's a proper.
Yeah, it is. It's
I mean,
more
not
than
most
more
bikes.
than an MT10 will do.
Yeah, exactly. Or my street triple, even.
Yeah.
Unless you're running the gauntlet and getting the whole anxiety thing. But yeah, that's amazing. Let's hope it's
But
true.
But then the charge times for the Energica, the charge time used to be 20 minutes, and you could get 70 miles maybe. Now it's 40 minutes, but you're getting 140 to 250 miles. So, but it's still 40 minutes. 20 minutes. 20 minutes. You stop. You have a sandwich or a cup of coffee. You have a chat. That's 20 minutes.
Yeah.
40 minutes. It's
it's a long wait, isn't it?
Yeah. This isn't really practical anymore.
Yeah, and of course.
So
sorry, we don't have the infrastructure, do we? I mean, it's 40 minutes if you can find a charger.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah, absolutely. I think for me, a lot of people have asked me questions about this because I've done a fair few electric bike reviews now. And for me, well, for starters, I don't think electric's the answer. Not the way it is at the moment, just because of if everyone moves to electric, then you have to produce more electricity. Well, how do you produce that electricity? Power stations, everything like that.
Yeah.
The environmental impact that will come from that. Then there's you have to create millions and millions of lithium batteries or whatever the battery is to go in the bike. Well, that uses up resources, and that decimates the land. You know, if you see where these mines are, where they take these minerals and metals out to make these batteries, it's just nothing there.
Yeah.
So there's that side of things. And then when the battery's done, which you're starting to see some of the truths coming through, where it's not an indefinite thing. You're talking 3 or 4 years of constant use. 3 or 4 years the battery needs replacing. So what happens to the battery then? You know, you just dig a hole and chuck it in there, and then it just pollutes.
Chuck it back in the quarry that they took it out of in the first place.
Yeah. So I think those things have to change, and then also, for me, it can't just be you turn up at the service station, plug your bike or your car in and wait for it to charge. That will never work. It has to be an instant thing. So
yeah,
if
a
it
swappable battery or something.
Exactly, yeah, like power tools. You know, you just turn out, you take your expended battery out, slot that in, pay your money, take out a fresh battery, pop it in, and off you go.
Yeah,
you're never gonna combat or compete with the internal combustion engine until you either force people to do it, there's no other option, or you make it as practical or more practical or cheaper.
That was going to be my answer, because I agree with everything you've said, and I've ridden a fair few electric bikes too, and I really enjoy them, and I would encourage anyone, if you've not ridden one, have a go on one, because there's some things about them that, of course, as somebody that loves mechanical things and engines in particular, I love the sound of an engine and the smell and the vibration and stuff, and you lose all that with electric bikes. So lots of people, poo-poo electric bikes, but until you've had a go on one, I mean, the acceleration on them is unbelievable, isn't it?
Phenomenal.
It is brilliant, and that is a good, fun feeling. But although, in a way, that's, to me, at the moment, of the bikes I've ridden, that's all they do good. I mean, that is a fun thing, but that sort of novelty wears off after a while. But for me, the big thing still is cost. So the question was, at what point do they become a viable alternative? Well, of course, range and charging, as you mentioned. But for me, the big thing is cost. Because I think even like the Zero, the DSR, which is the one I rode, the latest one, I think that's like 18, 20 grand. If you want the fast charge battery, which isn't that fast, you're still looking at 20 odd grand, and you can buy some pretty nice bikes for 20 grand, can't you?
For 20 grand you can, yeah absolutely.
So,
there's some savings to be made in terms of servicing, but again, with the battery life being 3 or 4 years, if you're charging it up every single day and you ride that bike, let's say you ride the bike 5 days a week, let's say you turn it into a commuter, then I think their cycles, when I worked it out, was round about 3.5 to 4.5 years. Then the battery will be done. That's
I wonder how
with the new figures that we're putting out.
Right, that's interesting. I have. I've got to be careful. I'm not giving away too much here, but I have a hybrid car. I've got, and it's. I'm trying to think how old it is now. It's not particularly new. It might be 5 or 6 years old. And I have noticed actually the battery in that doesn't. It never charges now more than 75%. So, and it was quite an expensive car. So I'm thinking, when I come to sell that, which might be relatively soon. I only bought it as a practical measure to get my kids to uni because it's got a big boot. I'm wondering, is the battery going to be so shot that no one wants to buy these things? I don't know. It's interesting, isn't it?
I've heard a few things around this. I don't know how true they are. So if people are out there that are experts and know, please leave in the comments. Let me know. Yeah. But
particularly if it's a Mercedes.
Right. Okay. I heard that with these batteries, it's actually not good to charge them more than 80%. Like 80% is the optimum charging point for your battery.
That'll be due to the Fermi effect.
Okay.
So I did a degree in electronics, and something called the Fermi level. But it's I don't know with modern batteries whether that's still so much of a factor, but that is certainly a thing. Luckily with my car, it's one of these hybrids where it's self-charging. So you don't plug it in at the end of the day. It has a diesel engine too, and it charges itself up. So. But yeah, it might be that it reaches some sort of ultimate maximum over time that you can never get beyond anyway, and then of course your range is going to come down as a result. That's
right. Yeah. If you look at the figures that are given by like Zero and Energica, if you look at the charge times, they say 0 to 80%. It's always 0 to 80. They never go 0 to 100.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think I asked in one of my vids when I was reviewing it, I wonder why they do that. And somebody left a thing on the comments.
Oh yeah, perhaps because you can't get it to 100%. Yeah.
What was it called? The what effect?
The Fermi level. This is a long time ago when I did this degree. Somebody might correct me.
Every day
but it was
is a school day.
Oh, it was a complicated. It's the reason why I bummed out of that degree because it was too flipping complicated. It was partly the lecture on Fermi levels that did it. Anyway.
Right, Andy HTTR. What's the reason we can't self-isolate by going on a short ride? I'm a designated key worker, so I'm still driving a car around the country.
I don't think anyone said that, have they? You can.
What, that you can go out for a ride?
Well, I'm not saying go out for a fun ride, but there's no reason why you can't ride a motorcycle.
No, absolutely. Yeah, I mean...
other than, with the caveat that, we all know motorcycling is slightly more dangerous than driving a car, so if you come off, you're going to tie up paramedics. But with that caveat, if it's your form of transport, fair enough.
Yeah, absolutely. If that's the only reason if that's the only way you can travel, then and you have to travel, then by all means you've got to take the bike, haven't you? And I totally get why people want to go out on the bike at the moment, because it's a great mental aid, especially at the moment, isn't it? You can de-stress. It gives you a chance just to get away from this madness for a little while.
It's a lovely thing to do. But I get that, but I'd also, personally, I've decided not to. I just don't think when the government is saying to us, don't go out of your house unless you really have to, that to me says, if you want to ride your bike because it's good fun, actually, don't do that, because that's not helping the NHS and saving lives,
absolutely.
As Boris would say.
And it's the what if, there are idiots out there, and there's not as much traffic on the road, but accidents happen. Deer can run out in front of you, rabbits can run out in front of you,
pheasants
just happen. Pheasants, as you'll see in a video coming very soon. Pheasants can jump out on you. These things happen, and to take valuable medical staff away from where they should be at the moment, it just doesn't sit right with me.
I agree. I mean, when this thing first kicked off, I thought, well, actually, thinking about restrictions, this is partly my job now. I do now rely partly on the income that I get from YouTube and its associated activities. So I thought, I can justify riding my bike because I'm doing reviews and it's my job. But actually, I've decided against that now. It's just not worth that risk. If I have a crucial journey to make, the safest way to do that is in my car, and that's what I'll do. So my bikes are tucked up in the garage until further notice.
I don't know if you've had it, but I've actually had like NHS staff message me saying, please, can you put the message out to stop people going out on their bikes, because they're still getting people being admitted, into A&E crashed on the bikes and things like that?
Well, last weekend, before we had the more stringent lockdown that we've got now, I was out in the back garden, and the noise from the local bypass of bikes being wound up like it was Brands Hatch was incredible. And I saw various comments on various social media forums of people saying, "Oh, now's the time to get on your bike. The roads are empty. It's brilliant out there." And I thought, well, this is just wrong. So I did comment back and say, "Look, this is irresponsible." And I mean, everybody can make their own decision, but I personally think now is not the time. Just because you can and you're allowed to, let's not go unnecessary risk is not worth it, is it? For that very reason.
I understand why you're doing it, but if you do it, folks, please just be so careful out there, because I mean, for your own safety, think about where the medical staff are working at the moment. You know, they are the ones literally at the coalface of this. So if anyone's going to catch it, it is more likely going to be those people, because they're dealing with the ones that actually have it at the moment. And if they then have to, the ambulance workers, if they then have to leave the hospital to come and pick you up and scrape you up off the road, you can get infected. So for me, it's a no-brainer. Having said that, I am riding my bike at the moment because my wife's a police officer. Although she's office-based, she still has to go into the office 2 or 3 times a week at the moment because she's in the planning side of things. Yeah. And for me, I don't want her on the train. You know, to me, it's just madness to put people onto these tubes at the moment.
I agree.
And send them in.
Absolutely.
But some people don't have the option. Some people have to do it. I've said to her, look, if you're not going to drive, because she doesn't like driving into London, I said, come on the back of the bike. I'll ride you in and out. So that's what I've been doing, is taking her in and on.
Yeah, I mean, in that case, I've no problem. If it's your primary form of transport or you're a key worker, absolutely got to be done, go for it. But I'm just personally anti going out for a joyride at this point. And I suspect, I don't know, I mean, again, by the time this video comes out, it might be that actual going out is even more stringently policed than it is now. I mean, it might be like in France, where I think it's France, where you have to fill out a form and then the police can stop you, and so it might be stopped anyway. So
who knows? Who knows what's going to come in the next week or two? What have we got here? Ian Preston, love the fact Mrs. TMF is being included more.
Wow, good. I'm not sure if I do or not. It's a double-edged sword, that whole thing, and I've had sort of. Well, actually, to be honest, I've had mostly positive vibes. I've had 1 or 2 negative messages, but that wasn't to do with Mrs. TMF particularly. Most people have said I'm batting above my weight, which is offensive, frankly. And I had somebody say that they didn't subscribe to me because they wanted to watch my holiday videos, which I thought was quite amusing. So I just thought, well...
You
watching's not compulsory.
Subscribe and watch the vids.
Yeah, exactly. So that was quite fun.
Well, I've met Mrs. TMF. Carol, she's lovely. And you're a lovely fella, but you are batting way above.
Yeah, you're probably right, actually, to be fair. But no, but on that subject, it's great. I mean, it's great that she's come along. It's given me. I thought it would be an interesting experiment to see how those videos went, and they've. Well, sadly, the current one, the Thailand tour, which was a brilliant tour, hasn't done that well. I don't know whether that's because of the situation we're in or what. And we talked about the YouTube views being impacted earlier. But I've really enjoyed taking her on the back. It's only this year that she's decided that she wanted to go on the back, and she's even talking about doing a CBT herself now. So
wow. I'm
not too sure. I mean, because the reason why I say that is I thought, those bikes are mine. If she got a license, then suddenly she's got to ride them up. They become our bikes. And then somebody said, it might have even been you, I can't remember who said it to me. I said, but I've got 6 bikes. Suddenly they're shared. And somebody said, think 12 bikes, Andy. And I thought, hey! There you think, yeah, brilliant.
Mate, she could start her own channel and then we're all screwed.
Yeah.
You can't compete then, can
you? The mind boggles. Don't get me started on female motorcycle channels.
Oh, mate. Anyway, let's not go there.
We're just jealous.
Yeah, well, yeah, I mean...
on multiple levels.
If I was pleasant on the eye, I would be using it for sure.
Yeah, but, too right. Too
right. Okay, what have we got here? Martin Atkinson, what do you use when you're away on the bike for downloading the day's footage? Well, I take... We chatted about this, obviously, yesterday. I take my MacBook Pro with me everywhere, the laptop. And I have that, and at the end of every day I just take the SD cards out, the cameras, my phone, the drone, whatever it is I've been using, and I basically transfer it from the SD cards through the laptop onto. I take away a little SSD drive, an external SSD drive, and I just chuck everything onto that basically at the end of every single day. So I start the next day with fresh, empty SD cards.
Wow.
You don't. You do something different, don't you?
Well, I'm ashamed by your organisation. I would quite like to do that, but I've just thought carrying a laptop's a bit of a pain in the backside. So I just take a lot of SD cards and sort of run the gauntlet, because let's face it, these things can fail, can't they? And I have lost footage before, so I should learn. But I have thought that one of the things I'm going to do, well, I'd planned to do this year, I plan to do quite a few more tours in the UK, and what I wanted to do this year, although it may be next or the year after now, was do some tours where they're more real time. So you post a video when you're actually at somewhere, and then maybe you go onto Twitter or something and say, where should I go next? And then you meet up with some people maybe at that location, then you publish that video that night. And of course, if you're going to do that, then you need a laptop that's manly enough to do that, which I don't have. So in the future I might do it, but at the moment I just have a lot of SD cards, and if I'm doing a tour, I just churn through SD cards and keep my fingers crossed. But it's a bad strategy. Your way is the better way of doing it for sure. But you've lost footage, haven't you, as well? Even with that, yeah.
On the problem around that was the reason I use SSD drives. They're more expensive, definitely, but they're
great,
solid
though.
state, so they're much more rugged. I used to take the traditional external hard drives, and I took that on my round the world trip, and literally, I think I got to South Korea or something, and sat down to edit the second half of the Russian leg of the trip, and the SSD drive had just crapped itself. It was totally corrupt, and I lost all the build-up footage. I lost all the footage that I had. So
it's a nightmare.
It was all gone. So it cost me like nearly $2,000. When I got back, I spent about a year and a bit working to try and save up money, and I spent about $2,000 trying to get it professionally recovered. And even then, they only got about 70-75% of the.
What a shame! I tell you what. Yeah. I mean, I love technology, but when it lets you down, it's a right pain, isn't it? I mean,
especially in this game.
Oh, I tell you, I had a similar. Again, I mentioned that Thailand tour that I'm publishing at the moment. I had all sorts of issues with my GoPro 8, which is the latest GoPro camera, which is rubbish. But if you're a vlogger, it's a great camera in terms of its stabilisation and stuff is brilliant. But as a motorcycle vlogger, you tend to want to do audio in the helmet, and you have to have that big old block of adapter thing. Anyway, it's a right pain, and I've had no end of people saying, "Oh, I can only hear you out of one channel," which has happened on my Thailand tour. I can't go back and re-record it. I mean, you can, of course, mix it down to mono track and all that sort of stuff. But
that's what I have to do. Yeah,
it's such a pain. So, I mean, technology, when it lets you down, it's horrible. And like you say, if you're somewhere abroad on an expensive, exotic trip, then you can't go back and do it again, can you? So, I mean, you can get very anal about it and make sure you back everything up, or maybe run 2 cameras on your helmet or something. But there's a trade-off, isn't there, between practicality and
absolutely, yeah.
But that is a nuisance. These camera manufacturers, they just don't cater for vloggers yet, do they?
Which is weird, because you would think it's such a big. Well, for us, we think it's a massive market, but it obviously isn't.
Well,
because
they're action cameras, aren't they? They're action cameras, and a lot of action stuff has helmets involved, doesn't it? So you'd think that if you're jumping off of a mountain with some bat wings attached, you tend to wear a helmet. Well, at least I do.
But then you don't. It's not like you then don't. It's only really us that mics it up, and we want the audio.
Maybe that's it. Yeah.
Anyway,
I think go on.
The drift cameras. I always used to be a big advocate of drift. I was a drift ambassador, and I always used to use the Ghost S camera, because to me it was, it had that rotating lens. It was a sleeker. It was just a much better physical. Yeah,
I agree. Yeah,
a physical shape basically for the.
It looked cooler.
For the camera.
There's no doubt about that.
And and then they moved to, I think it was the Ghost 4K they brought out. That was.
Yeah, I had both of those cameras.
Pardon the term, but it was just an utter cluster, whatever. It just didn't work.
4K cluster.
Absolutely, yeah. And it put me off. I ended up going back to GoPro then, and there's still issues with the GoPro. However, I'll address this now. I was having lots of problems with the GoPro. Was just the video was freezing. The audio was carrying on, but the video would just freeze. And then I was having problems where it would just shut down randomly. All these sort of things. And I just suddenly thought to myself, I wonder if this is something to do with the SD card.
Yeah,
and
that sounds like it. Yeah, buffering and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, folk had said, you've got to make sure you've got the top speed, top performing card. And I thought, well, I do. It is. But I've been buying them off Amazon. And you go on there and you go, oh, I want the SanDisk or a Samsung, and I want it top spec. But oh, that one's the cheapest. I'll buy that. There's so many fake SD cards out there. So as an experiment, I went on the SanDisk website and I bought their top spec 128 gig SD card, micro SD card, from them, not off Amazon, from them. And I have, touch wood, I haven't had a single problem with the Insta360 or with the GoPro ever since.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, I do think formatting your cards before every big ride and using proper good quality ones is key.
Absolutely.
And also, I've struggled as well about thinking about what's the best size to get. So rather than get I have got a few 128K cards, but I tend to use the 64s because you still got plenty of recording that you can do on there. You know, a day, well, half a day's worth of recording. But if you do end up with a corrupted card, you've only lost that 64K. So
good point. Yeah.
So we'll see. But we still haven't got the right solution for vlogging yet, have we?
Not quite. We're getting there though. It's
such a shame because the technology is amazing, isn't it? I mean, you watch some of these videos. I mean, I'm in awe of your editing skills and many others. And I mean, I'm a massive fan. I've said before of a lady called Itchy Boots that's touring South America at the moment on a Royal Enfield Himalayan. She's got Hero 8 actually, and she seems to be getting on absolutely fine with it. She uses the adapter in one of those Ulata, I think it is, things where you mount it. Which I have as well. But for me, it just hasn't worked. But for her, looks amazing. Number one, she's in great scenery, so she's got an incredible palette that she can look at. And if you like adventure riding and you've not seen Itchy Boots, go and check her out. She's a lovely lady and an amazing channel. Although she's in lockdown in Peru or somewhere at the moment.
I bet, yeah. God, that's got to be quite scary at the moment.
Yeah, 15 days in a hostel, not good.
Right. Well, wow. Here's a question. Andrew Scott, can blind people see in their dreams?
Whoa. Blimey.
Andrew,
I haven't had quite enough Stellas to answer that. Yeah.
Wow.
Swiftly moving on.
Yeah, I can't even get into that one. Sheesh.
Yeah.
Okay, here's a bit. Stitch. If you could mash together parts from different bikes to make the perfect bike, what parts from which bike?
Oh, wow. What a great question.
Yeah, I don't think we covered this yesterday.
No, this is great. Whoa. Hello, my little ear thingy's fallen out. That's bad. These are great, by the way. Have you got some of these little...
I haven't. Yeah, the... what are they called again? Earpods.
Earpods, that's it. And I mean,
I haven't got them.
They're quite expensive. My daughter was raving about them because she hasn't got them either. She bought some rip-off ones from Amazon, funnily enough, which are quite good, which were like 30 quid. But if you get the actual Amazon one, Apple ones, they're quite expensive. And I thought they're not worth getting. Why would I want them? But I tell you, they're blooming brilliant. Anyway, I digress. The reason why I got them is because I had to upgrade my phone. I'll tell you why in a moment, which is motorcycle relevant. But with the new iPhones, you can't charge your phone and plug the headphones in, which my old iPhone 6 you could, because you've got that. They've changed the socketry. So anyway, I bought myself a new iPhone, and the reason why I had to buy a new iPhone is because I was using a mount on my bike and mounting the phone on the bike as a sat-nav. And I won't mention what sort of mount it is, but if you watch any of my videos, you'll see what it is. It's what I thought was a good mount. But it's so rigid, when you're riding on your bike and there are vibrations, it's just a little warning for you folks here, it buggers up your camera in the phone. Because the cameras physically move, the stabilisation, they're on a little moving, whatever, solenoid thing moves them around. And if over a period of time, it can knacker the stabilisation. And I end up going on a tour, and my camera on my phone failed, and I rely on the my phone camera. And the Apple service centre said, have you been mounting it on a motorcycle? And so they knew what caused it. And the cameras aren't repairable. I ended up having to replace the phone with a reconditioned unit. It was an iPhone 6 at this stage, and the reconditioned unit was like 400 quid. And then in the end, I end up buying the latest, greatest iPhone because I do rely on it for making my videos.
An iPhone 6? Was this back in 1862?
No, this was 6 months ago. But I've now got an 11 Pro, the super duper incredible. It cost me £1,200 for a flipping phone. But if you think of it as a professional camera, then it sounds like better.
The camera's
value.
Phenomenal, isn't it? On the Pro, it's just amazing.
It is amazing, but I am not mounting it on my. I've kept my old phone, the reconditioned one that I had to buy for 400 quid. That is now what I'm going to use as a sat-nav on my bike. I'm not putting my 1,200 quid phone on my bike again. Just a warning, if you rely on your camera, you can't fix these cameras on your iPhone if it goes wrong. and it can be I learnt the hard way. It was an expensive problem.
That's interesting.
Thank you, Pete English, for that one, because he was the guy that recommended that mount that I'm not mentioning. I would mention it, but I can't remember what it's called.
I use I've got the Ultimate Add-ons phone mount, and I have my phone on there all the time.
Well, I mean, I don't know. I've not used the Ultimate Add-on stuff, and I'm sure it's great. But just be aware, if you've got an iPhone, it could damage your camera.
Ultimate Add-ons have not been in touch with you.
No.
Seriously, Ultimate Add-ons. What are you playing at? I mean,
I've got enough add-ons.
They seem to be contacting, like, all the Instagram lot. They seem to be chucking gear at them. We need to be on Instagram, mate.
It's very upsetting. I am on Instagram.
We need to start doing the old pout.
Yeah.
Enough said.
That's right. I've got several Instagram channels.
Andy's like, I am not touching that one. All right, where are we? Okay, Ed Byrne. Right, we chatted about this one yesterday. Ed Byrne on my thing that we're not allowed to talk about. Question 1. I'm currently obsessed with the BMW R1250R, and I'm planning on buying one in the next 6 months, assuming we don't end up eating rocks and living in caves. Both TeapotOne and TMF have ridden it, and those videos have helped me fall in love with it. Are there any aspects of that bike which would hinder either of you from buying one, factoring in the fact that I've basically ridden cruisers with no wind protection? What alternative would you consider?
Well, that's an easy one, isn't it? I mean, if you're coming from a cruiser, like we spoke before, then that's going to be, you're going to find that bike amazing. Again, like we said before, there new bikes these days are all pretty good, and that R1250R was a lovely, lovely bike, and
Absolutely,
I can't think of any reason why you wouldn't, coming from a cruiser. I don't know which cruiser it was, but I can't think of any downside other than price, because again, new bikes are expensive, aren't they?
Yeah, same. I think that new 1250 engine is awesome, and in that size of bike as well, it's just mint, isn't it? It's such a fun bike to ride.
It did feel very very pokey as well, didn't it? As in the UK, when we say pokey, we mean quick. I think it means something else in the US. I'm not sure. I've fallen foul of this before, but I mean, I mentioned earlier that I didn't particularly like the Boxer engine, but on that bike, it feels really quite sporty, doesn't it?
I loved it.
Yeah. Really
I did a sort of quick tour around Wales on it, and I loved it.
I love the way he's a quick tour around Wales. Brilliant.
as you do, you know.
No, Ed, go for it. You won't regret that. That's a top.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah. I can think of no downsides.
You'll love it, Ed. Really good fun bike.
Unless you're a really big bloke, but having said that, you're not a small fella, are you? And if you got on all right.
Yeah, I mean, I thought I was too big for the bike.
You're too big for most, to be fair.
6'3", 20 stone. What's that?
120 stone.
130 kilograms, I think. Between 125 and 130.
Unbelievable.
And I felt like I was that monkey sitting on the thing, you know, with the cymbals.
Yeah.
But watching the footage back, I didn't look that bad on it, to be honest. But I kind of felt
opinion, mate.
I was too big. One or two people did comment, yeah. But no, I loved it. The actual bike itself, go for it. Beautiful.
I have to say, it's amazing, isn't it? How humans come in such different sizes, big and small, and we're both at maybe opposite ends of that scale. But motorcycles don't vary that much in size, yet we all get on relatively all right. I mean, it's amazing. I don't know, how can I ride a bike and it feels comfortable, and you ride the same bike and still feel comfortable? I can't get my head around that. Anyway, it's one of those enigmas.
What have we got here? Sorry, mate. Bear with me 2 ticks.
That's right.
Lots of people asking. I'm on the Instagram bit now.
Yeah.
Which is at TeapotOne Insta for those who are looking. Lots of people asking, when are we going to do another collaboration type vid again?
Right.
Well, we've already answered that. So
Have we?
As soon as we can.
Yeah, it's logistics, cost, time, coming up with an idea. We've got lots of ideas, actually, and we all want to do it. We will do it.
Yeah.
And
Watch
maybe on the how do we mentioned earlier that we fell foul of doing the same video on everybody's channels, basically. We talked about, didn't we? It'd be interesting to see what people think of this in the comments, maybe, about if we did another one, we would maybe say it was a multi-part thing. I think the bike one was it a two-part? I can't remember. Anyway, but we could do like one part on one channel, and then say the next part is on another channel, and so you sort of feed round. Anyway, interested in people's views on that one.
Yeah, definitely. Let us know what you think of that, folks. In the comments.
Yeah.
Right, this is on Insta, SBT_1A9. Thoughts on luggage? Kriega, Moscow, Enduristan. I've only ever used Kriega.
Yeah, to be honest, I've never heard of Enduristan. Have you? Have you heard of them?
Yes, they. I think they sort of mainly deal with off-road stuff. They do, Lyndon Poskett.
Oh, okay.
Lyndon Poskett?
Yeah, certainly.
They sponsor his stuff at the moment.
Right.
But yeah, I've never tried Moscow stuff, Moscow Mule stuff, Enduristan. Never tried any of that.
And I think my mate Norley, who we mentioned earlier, Itchy Boots, I think she uses the Moscow stuff, so she's a fan of that. Yeah. But I, like you, have used Kriega stuff. I have the rucksack. I'm a massive fan of the. It's a quad lock. It's called, isn't it? The thing
that's the chest harness. Yeah.
It takes all the weight off your shoulders. It's a really comfy thing, but they are expensive. But they're in life generally, you get what you pay for, don't you? Absolutely. Yeah.
I've actually. Ironically enough, I was just contacted yesterday by Lone Rider. Have you heard of them? They're the ones that did that. Have you ever seen the tent where people have the motorbike inside the tent? It's like
I have. I naturally avoid tents, but yeah, I have seen those. I always wonder if the bike fell over when you're in the tent.
I know, yeah. Then what happens? Well, they do a range of different tents now. The reason I know is because they emailed me to see if I like to do some stuff with them.
Oh, brilliant.
And so I had a little look at their website this morning, and they do a range of different tents, and they're doing luggage as well. So watch this space. I may well be doing some stuff with new luggage and tents. We'll see what happens with it.
I must admit, although I'm not naturally a tent man, there is an appeal there, and I do like the idea of, particularly now, notwithstanding what we said earlier about not riding your bike for fun, but if restrictions are lifted somewhat in the future, and I assume when restrictions are lifted, it'll be done in a staged manner, and it might be that you're allowed to go for a ride for no particular good reason, but still be socially isolated. And of course, camping on your bike is a way to do that, isn't it? And I do get the whole adventure thing, and maybe one day, if the weather's good, we should do a camping type thing. That would be quite fun.
I think that could make a good video to get you camping.
Yeah.
Awesome. You'd be like the James May. Get you.
I'm all for camping, but not in tents.
Oh, that would be brilliant. Yeah, definitely. It's what as soon as we are able, as soon as it's okay to do it, I am hitting the road, and I will have a tent on the back of the bike, and I'm just going for a little bit of space somewhere.
Yeah,
Can't
sounds
wait.
good. Yeah. Come and camp in my back garden. We'll have a few beers.
Okay, in the mansion, in the grounds.
I wish.
I love it. I love the southern wing.
So the answer to that question then was Kriega, then, was it?
Kriega, I think both of us, wasn't it?
Yeah, okay, yeah.
It's about the only one we've both tried.
Yeah, I don't know about you, but we have no affiliation with them. It's just good kit.
No, they supplied my luggage for the round the world trip.
Oh, here we go. Now we get to the truth.
No, but they did. And Oxford originally said, "Oh, we'll give you the tank bags and the panniers," and hand up, it lasted about 2 weeks, and then the zips all fell off. So I had to say to them, "Look, thank you, but this isn't going to last on the. I'm away for nearly 2 years here, so."
No, you need reliable stuff.
I need to count on this stuff.
Yeah.
And I called Krieger up one day and just said, I'm doing this trip. I don't suppose I could get a bag off you.
Fabulous.
And they were amazing. Said, have what you like.
Great.
And then I never heard from them.
I wrote to them and said, I really like the look of your rucksack. It's I could do a review, and I never got a response. So I bought one.
Yeah, they said it's 150 quid. It's in the shop.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly right.
What I did. This is the thing. I did the round the world trip, and I have never, ever, ever heard from Krieger ever again. Nothing. And I've contacted them a few times to say, thanks very much. It worked really well.
You'd think they'd be biting your arm off.
Up and running. My rucksacks. Well, I got involved in an accident, funnily enough, when my shoulder was smashed, and they cut the rucksack off me, so I had no rucksack. So I thought, I'll drop a line to Krieger and just see if any chance I could get another one.
Yeah.
And they were like, no, never heard back from them. So it was like, okay.
Oh well, hey ho, there you go.
Went and bought one.
yeah, they are good.
But I went and bought one with my own money. So
exactly, they are good bits of kit.
There we go. GS Jeff, come on you four. How about a long way down? Get our four creative brains together and go for it.
Well, again, we talked about this. I mean, there's all sorts of ideas we've got. It's just down to money and time, really. Mostly money.
Absolutely, yeah, it is.
I mean, there's some trips I'd love to do. I'd love to do more in the US. I've done some riding over there. I'd love to do the western states. I'd love the desert for some reason. I'd love to do Route 66. I've mentioned earlier that I've never done a Harley ride. I mean, that would be great, wouldn't it? Or even the Rocket 3 across America would be great. How good would that be? Or even, and I mentioned this to you yesterday when we did our dry run, I would love to do something on a Royal Enfield in India. Something about that just appeals to me.
Absolutely,
that would be amazing.
Yeah, definitely. I'd love to ride in India. I've never been there.
Wouldn't that be an exciting thing? I mean, it'd be hair raising, I think, and the old Delhi belly would be an issue, I suspect.
Well, I could do with losing a bit of timber. So,
but I tell you what, when this whole thing's over and maybe the world gets back to some sort of normality, I really think we should look into that. I mean, I think that could be a go. I think it'd be amazing videos, and you would be like my Mr. Spock, so I'd feel safe. Because you're quite a handy bloke to be with when you're as wimpy as me. We could even ask those other knob-ends, Chopsy and Doodah, if they want to come. But they probably couldn't get the time off or something. But, I mean, it'd be brilliant, wouldn't it? It'd be great.
I think it would be mega, yeah. I think that would be phenomenal. A big trip like that. Because people will be expecting... Well, now they'll be expecting us to go to India. But people wouldn't expect a big trip like that. And it would be awesome to do, wouldn't it?
It would be great. And I think, though, for that sort of thing, you'd have to do it for... You can't go to somewhere far away like India for like a week, can you? You've got to do it. It's got to be a few weeks. So, yeah, how cool would that be? Maybe I'll get chatting to my friends at Royal Enfield.
Is that another place that I've always wanted to ride, and I wanted to do it on my world trip, but I snapped the frame on the Gixxer again just as I was sort of halfway across Russia. I was
maybe that diet is a good idea, mate.
Yeah, I was literally 100 miles from the border with Mongolia, and since I saw a long way round, I was like, Mongolia was it for me. That was my focus for the whole trip. Was I want to get to Mongolia.
It sounds like a long way away, doesn't it?
Well, yeah, it's just the thought of riding the Gixxer through Mongolia. It was just like it's going to be so hard to do, but I thought I'm going to do it. I'll do it. I will.
Do you know? I don't even know where Mongolia is. Is it like on the edge of Russia?
Right, where you've got China.
Yep.
Sorry, you've got China.
Yeah, so the Trumpian.
And then above that you've got Russia.
Yep.
Sort of in between the two, you've got Mongolia and then Kazakhstan right next to each other.
Okay, so
Kazakhstan sort of on the west side of Mongolia. So Kazakhstan, then Mongolia.
Yep.
And that's that, yeah.
Brilliant.
So I would love to ride a bike in Mongolia, definitely. And I would love to ride to the Everest Base Camp.
Yeah, wouldn't that be good? We could combine that with our India trip. Or is it Pakistan? I'm not sure. My geography is rubbish. I think it's India, actually, isn't it?
It's Nepal, isn't it? So
good point. Yeah, it's nowhere near, is it?
It's north.
But we could go on a Himalayan. We could get Himalayans from Royal Enfield and do that.
Let's do it.
Himalayan, as they're actually called.
And I also want to do... You got me started now.
Go on then.
I want to do the entire length of the Americas because
wouldn't that be good?
I never got to the bottom of Ushuaia, and I never got to the very top at Dead Horse in Alaska.
Right.
I ran out of time and money, so I would love to go back and tie them up.
That'd be a fabulous trip, wouldn't it? I must admit, I've never been to South Africa full stop, and again, having watched Norley on Itchy Boots do it recently, what an amazing country in terms of scenery. Yeah. That would be an incredible ride. Another place would be... I'd love to do South Africa as well. I've never done that. Because you had some nightmares in Africa, didn't you?
Yeah, I had...
So you never really got to grips with that, did you? Any plans to go back?
Yeah, that's another place that I want to do. I will get back and do the continent of Africa, definitely. I only did the top sort of northwest of Africa. Mm-hmm. So I went from Morocco into Western Sahara to Mauritania and Senegal. Yep. And I just had a bad luck, basically. It was just bad timing, just freak occurrences. There was an explosion of the Boko Haram chaps, the Islamic
not good.
fundamentalists.
They're not good. Yeah.
No, they just kidnapped all those Nigerian schoolgirls.
That's right. Yeah.
They basically exploded out of Central Africa, and as I left Morocco going through Western Sahara, they'd sacked Mali. They basically just took over the country of Mali, which is right next door to Mauritania.
Yep.
So the Mauritanian government flooded the whole of Mauritania with police and troops to try and combat this. And there's only two roads There's one that goes diagonally through the Sahara and one that comes right down the coast, more or less.
Yep.
And I was coming down the coast because I wanted to spend as little time in Mauritania as I possibly could because of what was going on.
Yep.
And I just happened to be there when this influx of fresh old Bill and military were there, and I basically just got robbed about 12 times a day.
Yeah, it doesn't really want to make you go back, does it?
No, and I got taken at a border, and it was not good. But anyway,
hang on. Taken at a border?
Yeah, that's a bit melodramatic. The gangs work with the old Bill over there, so about 10k away from this border called Rosso, I got stopped at a checkpoint, and the old Bill put me on the phone to this young guy called David, who asked me all the questions you get asked at all the checkpoints. You know, what's your name, where you from, where you going, why are you here, all that sort of stuff. You have this thing called a fiche, basically, which is just a list. You get asked the same questions, so you pre-format it. You can just type it out. It basically gives all that information, and you just print out about 80 to 100 copies of it.
Hand them out.
And you just hand them out when you get stopped, and that way it's all there. And they just wave you on. So I gave him all that info, and he said, yeah, the policeman said, yeah, on you go. And then when I got to Rosso, it was like Mad Max. It was just a massive long queue of vehicles waiting on this track in front of these big metal gates, basically, which was the entrance into the border compound to get across the river into Senegal. Yep. And it was like a plague of locusts. There was just hundreds of people literally swarming all these trucks and taking everything. I thought, well, I'm on a bike here. I've got my laptop, my camera equipment. I thought, if I go into that, I'm going to be lucky to come out in my pants. So I was holding off, and then there was
good job you're wearing pants.
Yeah, I know, yeah. They wouldn't have wanted my pants by that stage. I only took 3 pairs of pants on the whole trip. So
brilliant.
So this little group of young lads, like 15, 16-year-old lads, came running down the road towards me, waving their hands. And I could hear one of them shouting, Bruce, it's David, I'm David. And it's the guy I'd spoken to on the phone. So, you know, you kind of think, oh, thank God, someone I know. Okay. Yeah. He was with the old Bill, even though the old Bill robbed you, but, you know, I've spoken to him. Oh, okay, we're okay here. And he was like, come with me, I will look after you. Yeah. So I followed him to the front of the queue, and he spoke with the policeman at the front, and he smiled and opened up the gate, and in I went. And then literally the second me and this other chap were in there, they literally said, right, give us your passports, your wallet, and all your documentation. Holy and I sort of went, no, it's okay, I can deal with that. I can deal with this, I'm fine, I've done this loads. And he sort of laughed and said, no, you don't understand. Give me your passport, all your money, your wallet, and all your documentations. And he sort of looked at this copper who just racked his gun, and I thought, no.
Oh, shit, that is not good.
So at that point, you know, you got to hand everything over, and they did. They started taking us through the process of getting yourself stamped out of Mauritania, ready to cross the border and go. And they said, "Oh, you haven't got insurance." And I've heard of this scam before. You don't need it, but it's a scam they run. So I was like, "No, I'm fine." They said, "No, you must come with us. You must come." So we got marched out of the border compound into the town, and then basically just put in a concrete room, and then the sort of fun and games started for a few hours.
That sounds like a nightmare. So no wonder you didn't.
Yeah, it wasn't good.
Oh gosh, and you want to go back there? Maybe we'll strike that off of our list.
But then, you know, I know people. Steph, there's a lady called Steph. I think Steph
Jevons. She went round on the CRF. Yeah.
She was literally a week or two behind me.
Okay.
She went through Mauritania with no problems at all. Absolutely none.
I wonder if there's an advantage to being a female traveller.
I do think yes, but there's also undisputable risks there.
Well, I mean, the mind boggles.
We don't. As men, you could face those risks. Don't get me wrong. If truth be known, in that room, a few times I thought, oh dear, you know, I can hear banjos, but it didn't happen, thankfully. They did at one stage threaten to do that. Yeah. But you know, I think women face completely different challenges to perhaps we do at times when you're doing adventure travel.
Yeah.
But conversely, I think maybe they get a more positive reaction at times. Maybe people see them as less of a threat. I don't know.
I think so. Yeah. I guess maybe advantages and disadvantages, but interesting.
But it's not put me off going to Africa. I kind of I was very naive at that stage of the trip, and now I've done a big chunk of the world. It's sort of opened my eyes a bit more to what's the norm.
I guess there are ways of planning it so that you stick to the more sensible countries, aren't there? It's well known which ones are and aren't, so there must be a route through.
Yeah, and it changes. It's very volatile in Africa. What's great, what's fine in the morning, by lunchtime can be totally different. So it's very much how things are at that time. Really, you just have to play it by ear.
Yeah. Crikey.
But,
all right, next, how are we doing on these questions?
Where are we? Okay, Buddy Insight. Well, he's already asked, will TMF ride around the world? Well,
nah. I like the idea, and I do like the idea of longer trips. We just talked about India, for example. So I'd love to do things like in chunks. So I'd love to do a South American tour. We do a big chunk of it. I'd love to do the India thing. But I don't think a round the world trip is in me. I don't know why I think that. I completely get the appeal, but I'm not big on being uncomfortable. So no, sadly not. I don't think I get away with it with being a family man at the end of the day.
Absolutely,
I don't think my missus would let me go away for a year plus to do it. I mean, you can do it quicker, of course, but I think partly if you're going to do it, you want to enjoy when you're doing it, don't you? So setting time limits and things would be bad. So I mean, there was that guy recently, the young fella that went round the world, wasn't there, in the quickest time? I can't remember what his name is now, but he will have just shot round there and didn't immerse himself. Whereas my other mate
on the Ducati Scrambler,
Henry, yes, him anyway. So he did it very quickly, didn't he? So I think maybe that's Henry Cavill. I think not Henry Cavill. He's a film star, isn't he? Anyway, that guy. So he did it very fast, so you can do it quickly, but then you maybe miss out. Whereas you look at my mate Ben, who's doing it in a very slow way. In fact, I must give him a shout and see where he's at. I mean, he's been at it for about the last 5 years.
I haven't heard from him in so long.
No, I haven't either. I've got a funny feeling he might be all loved up, or that might have messed up his plans. But we'll see. So, but last time I spoke to him, he was all for the. Well, I'm just taking my time because I'm really enjoying it, and so if I find somewhere I like, I'll stay there. Yeah,
that's the way
brilliant.
to do it.
Yeah. But once you get, unfortunately, a certain age with some responsibilities, it does make it harder, doesn't it?
It does, and there's no getting away from the fact it's a selfish thing to do because. Even if you are single, generally, some people don't, but generally people have friends and family
of course.
At home, mums, dads, brothers, sisters, whatever.
Yeah.
People tend to have some sort of social circle, and those people are going to miss you, and they're going to worry about you. So it is, in that term, it is a selfish thing to do because you're just going off to do your thing. But
a brilliant thing. I mean, what an amazing thing to do. I mean, it certainly changed your life, didn't it? So
absolutely, it is life.
And everybody I've spoken to that have done it all say the same thing. They all say just do it. I mean, and I realise I'm missing out by saying I'm not going to do it. I say that, but I mean, who knows in the future? I mean, if Mrs. TMF got a bike licence and said, actually, we're still young enough, we could do it, let's go around the world, then I'd certainly do it then.
If it's something you want to do, then I 100% say to you, go for it. But if it's not something that tickles your what's-its, then, it's no loss, really, is it? So depends on you. Buddy Insight also asked, what do we think of motovlogging? Is it dead?
Blimey. Well, it can't be. Surely it's not dead. It's an interesting one because years ago, before YouTube got as big as it is now, there's quite a lot of vloggers around, and that's what got me in. And if you're into motorcycling, really the only channels that are on YouTube were vlogging channels, weren't they? I used to watch a few guys, one of which I can't remember the name of, but there was somebody called, no, I can't remember the second one now, it's because I've had a couple of beers. What was he called now? I watched some that these days you would think were really a bit naff, but I was absolutely transfixed by them. And they were just vloggers. I say just vloggers, but it really got my interest up. And there was just something about riding along, and these guys, obviously, you related to them in some way, in that they were kind of like you or whatever. And I really enjoyed that. So I don't see why it shouldn't be a thing now. You don't tend tend to get so many larger YouTubers doing it. I've personally thought I'm going to do more of that soon because actually I miss doing that. I quite like doing that. And also it's actually pretty easy to do from yours and my perspective. Going out on your own bike and riding around and having a chat to your camera doesn't take a lot of organising or editing, does it? So it's actually an easy thing to do. If people watch it, then it's a great thing to do. So I'd like to do more personally. But if the question is from the sense of I'd like to be a YouTuber and get into it by doing vlogging, then maybe that's a bit more difficult. I don't know. What do you think?
I kind of think, I think there are loads. There are so many moto vloggers out there, and I think a lot of it doesn't appeal to me personally. But I think it's more you need to have something about you, something in your personality that grabs people and makes people want to, whether you appeal to them in your sense of humour, in your mannerisms, in your editing style, whatever it is, you have to find your audience, don't you?
Yeah.
Or your audience finds you, to be honest, isn't it? That tends
or
to be
maybe it's the thing about being genuine, because I do think, because I agree, I watch lots of obviously YouTube videos, and I do watch lots of other vloggers. If new ones crop up, I'll watch and see what they're like. And if you're fake about it, then I think people will soon see through that, don't they?
Well, seen right through it, yeah.
Yeah, so you can't be that. And also, and it tends to be, I don't know why, but it tends to be some of the American ones are a bit over the top. Maybe it's just a British taste thing, so I don't tend to watch those that much. There are one or two I do. So yeah, I think you need to be a communicator, obviously, don't you? You need to be relaxed on camera and all that stuff, and be yourself. So in a way, it's sort of, you're kind of lucky if you just, because if that's your personality that you can do it, then that's a bit of luck for you, isn't it? And I feel sorry for those. Sometimes you watch people. I get quite often, I don't know if you get this, you probably do, but I get people saying, I'm starting a YouTube channel, it'd be great if you'd watch my videos. And I always do when they say that, because I think, well, we all started it at some point, so I'll watch it. Yeah. And then sometimes you watch them and they'll absolutely die. You can barely hear them. And it's dull as dishwater. I mean, I know a lot of mine are dull as dishwater, but I've been at it for a long time. That's the other thing that people don't realise. Yeah. If you've only recently subscribed in the last, say, year, they don't realise you've been at it since 2008. It's taken a long time to get to that point. And let's face it, in the scheme of YouTube, me or you, we're just minnows. I mean, there are people out there with millions of subscribers. We're never going to get to that stage just because it's a small niche.
There's not many motorbike channels out there with, 1 million subscribers. There's really not that many out there at all. No. So, whereas if you look,
they're mostly American ones, if they are, aren't they?
They are. Yeah, I think there's only Royal Jordanian's got 1 million.
It's the only one I can think of in the UK, and he's a sort of a special edge case, I think.
I mean, I can't get my head around it, but I'm addicted to his videos. I watch them and I'm like, that's exactly what I do. That I ride around London, so why am I sat here watching somebody else do it? But
the thing is, he's a nice guy. That's the other thing. I think in the case of him, he's a genuinely nice guy. I think his channel got a bit of a launch because he had a few videos that went sort of viral with things that happened on his daily ride. So I think that's why he got the momentum that he got. But yeah, he's an interesting character in that respect, isn't he? Plus, there's a bit of mystique about who he is and what he does and all that sort of stuff.
I think he's about the only one that actually keeps that all quiet, doesn't it? I don't think anyone else keeps their identity secret. Any of the big ones, anyway, keep their identity secret anymore, do they? Yeah,
well, it gets a bit. I mean, I don't know how he finds it, but I mean, not that I'm in the same league as him in size, but he. When I was relatively secretive, and I still sort of am, and there are good reasons for being that way. I just found it a bit embarrassing when you start to get to know people, or you meet people at meets or bike shows and stuff, and they don't know what to call you. So I thought, if somebody really wants to find out who you are, of course they can. Exactly. So I'm not too worried about it now. There are certain things that I do to try and protect. At the end of the day, I'm only worried about people stealing my bikes. That's the reason for being secretive. There's no other reason. I don't care who knows who I am. So yeah, it's a whole interesting thing, that, isn't it? I mean, you don't know when you start out. You don't know whether it's gonna. I didn't start out. I don't know about you, but I never assumed that this would become a thing. I just did it as a fun thing, and it got some momentum. And it turns out that I'm one of the bigger biking YouTubers. It amazes me every day, but it's great. It's a great thing. So yeah, I don't know what the question was now. What was the question, Bruce?
Do we think that motovlogging is dead?
Yeah, no, I don't think it's dead. I don't think it's dead.
No, No, not at all. I think I don't think you can just get away with riding around chatting to a camera. I don't think you can just do that now and expect to grow to a substantial size.
Well, unless
you have that thing, unless
you've got like a sparkling personality. I can't think of anyone off the top of the head, but it's, somebody who's really hysterical to listen to, or very engaging, or very clever, or something. Yeah. And then they put the hours in as well, so they do reasonable editing so that you can at least hear them and see them okay. Yeah. And then are consistent. So I mean, you have to do it on a regular basis. So somebody I'm a massive fan of is a guy called The Crumble, for example. I've been a subscriber of his for yonks. He's hilarious. He's like it's the anti-TMF. If you watch him, if you haven't seen him, do go and check him out. He's brilliant. I find he's hilarious, but I think he hasn't got that many followers. I can't remember how many he's got, but he's got a substantial amount. But they're not massive because he's very bursty in what he publishes. So, for a year he would do one every week, and then you don't hear from him for a year. And so, you've got to, if you want to make a go of it, you do have to be consistent on all fronts. Both your persona, the sort of content you put up, how often you put content up. You have to be consistent for a number of years. It is not a short-term thing, is it?
That's we've already addressed that. I don't think a lot of people appreciate the timescales involved and the work, to produce the content. But you have to be literally banging, pardon the expression, banging them out regularly, don't you?
Yeah, At least you didn't say knocking them out.
I was going to say it was on the tip of my tongue, but
no, it's getting worse.
Right, we're now on to Facebook. Are you okay for time? Because that's nearly 2 hours. Right, I'm
just I'm more worried about the viewers being okay for time.
What else are we doing?
Yeah, well, exactly. Right, mind you, the file size is going to be massive to download to you. That could take a week.
Yeah, well, again, what else am I doing? I wouldn't worry about it.
Indeed.
Richard Higgett, when you strike up relationships with manufacturers and dealers to test ride bikes, how can we trust you or the larger bike press to give proper impartial reviews?
That's a great question. And actually, I'm desperate for a slash. So you answer it. I can still hear. I hope you won't hear me having a tinkle. I'll be back to answer that in a moment.
Toilet breaks are becoming a regular thing of these podcasts. I think it's just down to... You can only go on our word, to be honest. So it's whether you trust us or not. And for me personally, the only thing I think you have in life, I'm going to get deep here, is your integrity, really. And my integrity means a lot to me. So I'm not going to jeopardize that by saying something is great if it's not great, because all that will happen is you'll go and get it after I've said it's good. And it's not, and there's no hiding the fact that it's not. So you won't trust anything I ever say again, will you? So I also appreciate everybody has their own opinion on things. Tyres are a prime example. What I think's a great tyre, you might take out and go, I think that's dog poo, that's rubbish. I think these ones are much better. So I'll always try and be as balanced as I possibly can in my personal opinion on something. There's a... I can. All I can hear is you trickling away. It's quite off-putting. I think you have to be as balanced as you possibly can in your viewpoint on anything. And there's a term called a shit sandwich, where there's a good point, there's a bad point, and there's a good point. And where possible, I'll always try and do that to be as balanced as I possibly can. Because at the end of the day, yes, we do have to keep manufacturers of bikes, of tyres, of kit. We have to try and keep them on side to an extent. In that, even if I'm saying, didn't really like wash your hands, 20 seconds. Even if I say, if I take some tyres out and I didn't really like the tyres, then it's in my best interest not to say this tyre is utter dog poo. I've got to say, right, I didn't like it for these reasons. However, I have tried such and such a tyre from that manufacturer and I really like them. Because at the end of the day, that manufacturer may develop some new tyres further down the line And it's in my best interest to try those new tyres out, isn't it? So it's a balancing act, isn't it?
Absolutely is. I 100% agree with everything you just said, and it's not just like vloggers and stuff either, is it? It's magazine articles, reviews you read, all have the same balancing act to do. I mean, I personally, I one of the good things about being a YouTuber is you do get sent stuff to evaluate, don't you?
Yeah.
And I always say when people, they initially tend to send you an email and say, would you like to make a video about? And again, I'm kind of lucky because I've got an excessive amount of people that write and say, would you like? So I can sort of pick and choose. And if it's something that I think I absolutely won't like, I'll end up doing a bad review. So I say to them, look, I don't think I would actually use this in real life. So I can, by all means, send it to me. I don't guarantee to do a review, but if I do a review, it might be a bad one. Do you still want to send it to me? So sometimes they say, oh, forget it then. Or sometimes they'll say, actually, I mean, the better manufacturers will say, well, we think it's a great product, we'll send it to you, and you just be honest. I mean, most of them do say that, which is great.
Yeah, they do actually. Yeah, genuine. Most of them will say that. Which
is great, and same with the bike manufacturers as well, with one or two notable exceptions. So I agree. It's not in your interest to be to say something's good when it's not. But I do, if it's a small company like a startup or something that are trying to build a business, then I have a degree of empathy. So somebody that's run small companies myself, I have a degree of empathy with these companies. So I will say to them, if they send me something and I think it's pants, I'll say, look, I think this is pants. I won't do a review, and then I don't. So I give them the right of first refusal, as it were, because I don't want to destroy somebody's business.
No, of course,
you could do. But luckily there's so much stuff out there, and there is so much good stuff. I mean, as we said earlier, new bikes are all pretty good. I mean, I do try and make a point, particularly in bike reviews, but in any review, of saying what the bad points are as well, because you always are opened up to this criticism of always being positive about stuff.
Yeah, no, it's true.
But I stand with any of the stuff that I've looked at and said is good. If I've said a particular thing is good, then I challenge anyone to disagree. And then the other thing, of course. Sorry, I'm on a roll now. The other thing. Yeah. Oh, it's 2 beers. I can't remember what I was going to say. Oh yeah, it's at the end of the day, we're just ordinary blokes. It's just our opinion. I mean, it's
of course it is,
it's no better than anyone else's.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's your personal opinion on something, isn't it? That's all it is. Yeah.
Yep.
Right, we've got one here. Dave Ringland. Ask TMF if his Oxford Mondial laminated suit leaked. My brand new suit, bought mostly on his review, has started leaking in the seat area.
The gusset.
In the gusset.
The answer to that is no. I haven't had any leakage with mine, but I have had a few people, and this is a. If you're not familiar, the Mondale suit. I did a Norway trip and I wore it there, and it was an amazing. It's a laminated suit, and I didn't realise this until I had this Oxford Mondale one that I'd always worn RST kit before then, and it was that sort of kit where you have a zip out waterproof layer and a zip out thermal layer and all that, and I just kind of thought that's how kit was. And if you get wet in those sort of bits of kit, it can saturate the outer layer of the jacket, and if you're staying in a hotel or even worse, a tent, you've got no way of drying the thing out overnight.
That's
so the next day you're in a wet jacket and the airflow, you get cold. If you go down the laminate route, which the Mondale is, that sorry, I can't remember who asked this question. Who was it?
Dave Ringland.
Dave Ringland. I used to live near a place called Ringland. Anyway, with the laminated ones, they actually have a bonded outer waterproof layer, so you don't have to worry about zipping out a waterproof layer. So when it rains on you and you're on your bike, you don't have to stop, put a waterproof layer on. It just repels it. And the Oxford one is a particularly good one because it's good value for money. Typically, laminated suits, you're looking at 600, 700 quid for the jacket and then 400 or 500 quid for the trousers, so you're into big money. We're talking, the Klims or Climbs and the who's that other one? Not Halversons, although they do. Rucker, that's the other one. So they're very expensive, but you, again, like we said before, you tend to get what you pay for. But the Oxford one is much, much cheaper. So anyway, I was a big fan of it, and I made a video, and I said it was great, and I still stand by that. But to answer the question, no, I didn't get any leakage, but I have had a few people say that they've had a bit of leakage around the gusset area, so I'm not surprised to hear that. So there you go. I mean, that's the answer. Mine hasn't leaked, but I know other people's have a bit. So, and I think this is quite a common thing actually with kit, that you do tend to get. I don't know if it's under particular stress. Mine certainly is around the area or what. But there you go.
I've found with suits I have worn in the past. I've never worn a laminated suit, but I've done.
You've got to do it, Bruce.
I can't afford it, mate. I'm on the breadline, especially now. But what I have seen before is where you have the trousers and the jacket, and even if they're connected with the zip around the back, if it's raining heavily, water somehow gets in between the two. You know,
that's interesting. Right.
So I will find I'll have like wet pants, and I'm thinking, why are my pants wet? And it's because water has got in at the front, and then I think they call it capillary action. Is that right?
So technical, scientific.
The material, your underwear material, draws that moisture from the waistband, and it's just drawn down.
You don't want that, do you?
No, and over the course of the day's riding in the rain, obviously that material saturates, and you end up with a nice pool of cold water right under your credentials.
Gonads, not good.
It's always fun.
Yeah, but I would say I'm not pushing Oxford particularly here, but any of those laminate ones. I mean, I know you ride in all sorts of temperatures and on all sorts of bizarre weather days. If you've never tried laminate and you can, it is more expensive. I've just got myself a jacket from a company called Dane, which has been amazing. They're cool in the summer. They're warm. A side shoot of the fact that they're properly waterproof is that actually they're very warm in the winter as well. And they're just brilliant. If you have to ride all day, I'm lucky, I just ride for fun. But if you do commute and stuff, that kit is worth its weight in gold. Really, really good. But I never realised that laminated was that much different. Yeah, I think they are. Denmark, I assume. I think I can hear Mrs. Fire in the kitchen. I'm going to see if I can get another beer. Stand by. Sorry for shouting.
No worries.
Carol, my angel. Could you bring me another beer, please? Can I have another beer, please? Thank you. She's giving me a funny look. I think it's a yes. Is that a yes?
I'll never forget when you did that video on how to clean your kit.
Excellent. Oh, did you see that one? That was one that didn't get many views. Yeah.
Did it not?
No, because it appeared to be a very boring video, didn't it? I thought it was hilarious.
I don't think I knew you at that stage.
Possibly.
I watched the vid and I just thought to myself,
hey! Sorry, it's coming in. Thank you, my angel. Sorry, Bruce, you were saying?
I watched the vid and I remember thinking, oh, hang on, there's more to this bloke. There's more to this bloke, definitely.
That was her first appearance, I think, on my channel.
Yeah, I think it was, yeah.
She told me to fuck off, I remember. It's outrageous.
Yeah, she did, yeah.
Yeah.
It still seems weird hearing you swear. Here's one from Carl Riley. As we can't really go out on rides at the moment, how are you keeping your bikes running? Well, obviously, I've said I am running my missus in and out of work a couple of times a week. But what do you use? Because you've got about 93 bikes.
Well, I tend to have this issue all the time, actually, because it's one of the unintended consequences of YouTubing is that you do, again, it's great, I'm not complaining, it's a great problem, you do get manufacturers give you bikes to try. So I've got a Tiger 900 at the moment in the garage, which I can't ride, and Triumph delivered it about 2 weeks ago, and I had a message from them last week saying, well, actually, due to the situation, we don't know when we're going to pick it up, so can you just keep it until further notice? So I'm thinking, I hope they forget they left it, because I really like the bike. Anyway, so this is an ongoing issue, and as it happens, I'm tomorrow making a video on this very subject, because I thought it would be quite apt. So I've got like a top 5 things you should do to your bike if you're going to lay them up long term. I need to come up with a title that doesn't have virus or COVID-19 or whatever in it, because I think it would be quite an apt one to put now. But in summary, I mean, number one, I guess the key thing, make sure your battery is charged up, because you ain't going to start it if it's laid up for a while. So trickle charge or one of these intelligent chargers, even better. Also, if it's going to be for a lot more than a month, and I suspect at the moment when we're recording this on the 28th, exactly, I'm thoroughly expecting my bikes to be laid up for at least the next 6 weeks. I would say at least roll them out the garage, move the tyres around, pump the tyres up, but make sure that because otherwise you end up with flat spots if they sit on the tyres for too long. Yep. Some people talk about putting additives in your fuel. I never worry about that. I think modern fuel's okay. You don't need to do that. Yeah. The other thing I would do, and I do this anyway, regardless of what's going on in the world, is just run the bikes at least every month until they're properly warm. So every now and then, my neighbours love me for this. I'll open the garage doors for ventilation, and if I haven't run them for a while, which tends to be most of the time, I run them all for at least 15 minutes all at the same time. It's very smelly, and very noisy. But that's not so much to get to check they still start running. That's to get oil around the system. So I
right.
just worry that if they're sitting there for a period of time, oil is draining out of the cylinders and off the pistons and stuff. And particularly in winter, you could get some, if you don't block your exhaust up, which is another thing you might want to do, you could get condensation in the engine. Just get some oil around it, so I do that. Check your tyre pressures, obviously. What else is there? I think that's probably about it. There might be one or two other things, but watch my future video for other things. But that's what I do.
Yeah.
Keep the batteries charged, move the bikes around, start them up every now and then.
That's interesting because it's just never. Bike has always been my only mode of transport up until I met my wife and she has a car. But I still.
Brilliant! I can see where you got shacked up then. What a great idea! I was the same. I was exactly the same. She moved in because she had a Ford Fiesta, and I'd had to sell my Ford Escort because I couldn't afford that and a flat.
Well, I mean, I've always ridden. I've always ridden bikes, and I ride every single day. Normally, I ride every single day. So my bike had never, unless I've been away on holiday, the bike had never ever sat there. And like 2 weeks is probably the longest a bike's ever just sat with me. So it's interesting to see how you combat all that.
Do you have you don't have to tell me the answer to this, but I might have blown it by asking you. Do you have a tracker on your bike?
No.
Right.
No.
See, that's one of the issues I have, is that a couple of my bikes have got fancy trackers from Bike Track, and they drain the battery down, so they have to be charged pretty much all the time. Whereas I use those Monimoto ones on the other bikes, and they're self-contained, and they don't drain the battery, so they're brilliant.
Do you know, Monimoto contacted me ages ago about doing a vid on one, and said, we'll send it to you, and I regret it. But I looked at it and I just thought, this battery, that's never going to work.
It works. They're great. I've got 4 of them. They're brilliant. They're really good.
The Scroats will find it no problem. And I watched your video and I thought, oh God, that's a great bit of kit. Why did I turn that down?
They are good.
So
and
Monimoto, please.
they're not expensive, and
they're not.
I mean, they're not.
I couldn't believe that.
They're not as good as a proper bike tracker. They don't have as much functionality, but they're way cheaper, and they just give you a certain amount of peace of mind. I mean, at the end of the day, if your bike's stolen, I'm doing a video on this soon as well. Even if you can these days, and you might have more insight as an ex-copper than me, but if you report your bike stolen and you tell the police where it is, I'm not sure they even go and look for it anyway.
No, not in a city. They won't. No.
Yeah.
No. There is literally too much going on. It's not no matter what they say, it's not a priority. There is way more serious things going on that are taking up resources, and vehicle crime, sadly, even burglaries. There's some boroughs in London, burglaries aren't a priority, which is insane. But the levels of things that the lads and lassies on the street are dealing with now, it's just there's a finite resource there.
It's terrible. That's the case, isn't it? There we go.
It is. It is. But that's just the way it is.
So I'm all for, in terms of bike security, I'm all for doing everything you possibly can. I used to work in the IT security industry, and it doesn't matter what sort of security it is, but and you might have come across it before, but they talk about layers of security, don't they?
Yeah.
And the more security you can put on, so be it a chain on your bike, be it a tracker, be it a disc lock, be it a cover, the more of those you can do, the better. And
absolutely,
particularly if you live in a city. I mean, maybe things will change now. We're all going to love each other more, but in bike theft in London's been a thing for a couple of years now, isn't it? More you can do to prevent it. Yeah, outrageous.
It's blatant now. As you said, if you were to look at 2 bikes, different models, but 2 bikes, one bike has a cover on it. It's got disc lock, the chain, all that, and the other bike has nothing. They're going to take the one that has nothing because it's nice and easy and bosh, done.
Of course. Yeah, exactly.
They do it, the way they do it now is they'll have like a T-Max scooter or something with a couple of geezers on it. One geezer jumps off, literally smashes the steering lock, quick battery operated grinder to take off your disc lock or however that is, that's done. And then the one on the moped literally just puts a foot on the exhaust or on the rear foot peg, and they'll just push them up the street and they're gone.
It's outrageous, isn't it? I as I mentioned, I'm going to do a video soon about bike security. And one of the things I've recently got from Oxford, who we mentioned before, they sent me a chain and a lock, and the lock is called the Beast. And I don't know how much it weighs, but it weighs an awful lot. And the lock itself is like 120 quid or something. So it's a big massive, and it's got like a 30mm pin in it, so you can't grind through it, of hardened steel. And the chain, each link in the chain weighs more than a bag of sugar. It's unbelievable. So I mean, you're not going to carry that around with you, but in your garage.
That's what I have. I have an Oxford, and it's called the Beast, but this is a couple of years old. I've got an Oxford chain and padlock, and that's what I have a ground anchor built into the floor of my garage.
That's the way to go. Yeah.
It's sunk right down into the floor and concreted in.
Yeah.
And that's what I do. You've got the guardsman now as well, don't you?
Yes, I have, and as part of that video about security, I'll talk about that as well. But this is basically like a barrier that you put in your garage. Brilliant invention, actually. I was very impressed with it when I first saw it. And again, it was one of those things when manufacturers contact you. Sometimes you think, "Oh, I'm not really interested in that." But when I saw this, I thought, actually, that's a great idea, and it's just as simple as a barrier that goes down in front of your garage, locks in place, and there's all sorts of things they've done with it that makes it kind of difficult for burglars to deal with. It's the right height so that you can't get a bike under it. You can't drill the locks out because they've got hardened steel in front of them. So it's a very good bit of kit, and it adds very little hardship to my life in terms of hassle factor. Whereas a chain with a ground anchor, it's a bit, when you've got 6 bikes, it's a bit of a faff. And again, don't get me wrong, this is a great problem to have. But locking them all up onto ground anchors is a right pain in the backside. And when you want to move something, it's just a pain. Whereas this thing stops your bikes getting out of your garage. At the end of the day, if somebody wants to steal your bikes, they'll do it, won't they? I mean, I even heard of somebody where they had a brick garage and somebody went in and used a forklift and basically knocked the wall down and just lifted the bikes out.
I mean, if they want it, they will get it. Yeah. But as you can't make it as hard as possible.
Layers of security. I have not only the bikes alarmed and tracked, but I've got an alarm in my garage. I've got CCTV in there. I mean, I've got everything I can possibly do.
You have to now, don't you? Right. Shame. What do we have here?
How long do you think people are going to watch this video? I can talk all day, mate, but it's I think 2 hours and 9 so far. God, I hope the sounds come out.
I know. Do you know? I used to think that, but I think with podcasts, it's almost like you have people who on YouTube. People have an attention span of a gnat, don't they?
Yep.
And it's literally like, I think they say the opening 4 to 7 seconds of your video. That's all you've got to.
Hook them in.
Oh, I'd love one, please, wife. Thank you very much. Pardon? No, a beer would be lovely. Thank you. Sorry, folks.
That's unbelievable how you've trained her. Incredible.
I like a cup of tea?
You should have seen the look I got. Bloody hell. Mind you, I still got the beer, so that's all right.
What were we chatting about?
I can't remember. Locks. We were talking about locks, and then we moved on to the length of time that people watch YouTube videos.
Oh, yeah. I think it used to be the opening 10 seconds, didn't it? And now there's some ridiculous statistic that YouTube have said. It's the opening 4 to 7 seconds of your video is what hooks people, and they'll make that decision whether they're going to watch more of your vid in the opening 4 to 7 seconds.
Well, it's down to your editing then, mate. I can't remember what we said in the first 4 seconds.
But the thing is, you either have that type of person, or you have, like with the beauty with podcasts, is it's long form content. There's nothing edited. It is as it comes out the can. It's nice and easy as far as editing goes. You separate the audio from the video. You should do it for sure. You literally just separate the audio from the video, and you just let the audio run, and that's it.
Well, maybe we can help people get to sleep if they listen to this at night on the podcast form and have a kit. Put your earpods in. These earpod things are great for going to bed because you don't get tangled up in them. Go for it.
Cheers, babe. But the beauty with the podcast in particular is that because it's all audio, I mean, you can literally, commuting in and out of work, whether you're riding, driving,
on the train,
you just listen to it, and then you stop when you get to work, do your thing, and then you can just pick up where you left off.
I must admit, it's a bit sad, but this sort of crap that we're doing, this is the sort of thing I would listen to for hours. But I do like the idea of podcasting. It's just I just haven't got my head around how you go about doing it. I'm told it's not that hard. Maybe you can give me a teaching at some point. Maybe I should start doing it.
I'll chat to you about it after this if you want. I'll send you some links. It is really easy. Really easy. Great. So
because I used to do the odd live stream, and fun enough, since this whole the C word we're not mentioning has come out, people have said, why don't you do more live streams?
Yeah,
it'd be a good time to do it. So I'm sort of thinking I might do that. I really enjoyed doing them. But I always used to get a bit nervous about doing them, actually. I mean, the great thing with this is it's recorded, so if something terrible happens, we can always edit it out, or you can. So that's good. And the live stream thing was always a bit nerve-wracking. But I did quite enjoy doing that, I must admit. So I might do one of them.
you get the interaction with the listeners on live stream, and I love all that. But
Yeah, that is the beauty of it. Yeah,
my
yeah,
internet is pants, so I just can't live stream.
It's a shame you live so far away, because the last live stream I did, which was disastrous in some ways but good in other ways, was with Chopsy, and we ended up doing it on my phone sat here. But actually, I think it was one of the best live streams I've ever done. I thoroughly we had great fun. We got a bit bladdered, I seem to remember, and it got people seem to like it. But
I would love to do one with you. I would gladly come over and do one with you.
Yeah, well, let's do that. Let's when we're allowed to move again. Let's definitely do that. We'll do a live stream together. That'd
Watch
be great.
this space, folks.
Yeah.
Neil Burton, as you're both now full-time amateur vloggers or journos, do either of you aspire to a professional TV career, or would you rather keep it real on YouTube? On YouTube.
Great question. Do you want to go or me? I don't mind.
I think if I was asked to do something on TV, if I would certainly look at it, definitely. But I would want to keep this as my main thing.
Yep.
This would be my. This is my thing. YouTube.
Yeah.
Making vids.
Yeah.
And as you said before to me, because we've discussed sort of things like this.
Yeah.
I like to be in charge of what I'm doing.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah, I would do something on TV, but it wouldn't be the only thing I would ever do.
Yeah, I would say I would. It'd be great, wouldn't it, to be asked? I mean, it'd be flattering.
God,
and I've had people say to me, "Why don't you, approach the BBC?" And in fact, I've had a couple of production companies have approached me and said, "Let's do something, a pilot and what have you." And it is very flattering. But I'm completely with you. One of the things I love about YouTube is the fact that this is entirely under my control. Okay, this is on your channel, so it's under your control, but you get the point. And I do it primarily for fun, although it's become sort of half my income now, so I'm doing it full time, but I sort of rely half on the income. I just like the fact that I can do what I want with it. So and if you went down the TV route, suddenly you're talking to producers and directors, and you have to have meetings, and it all gets quite difficult. So again, never say never, and all that stuff. And at the end of the day, I mean, if you're offered some ridiculous amount of money, then obviously you would do it, wouldn't you? But but if it wasn't a ridiculous amount of money, if it's just a normal amount of money, then I think I'd rather just do what I'm doing. I can get away with what I'm doing at the moment, and it's good fun. There's still it's still good fun, so that works for me. So never say never, but it's not top of my agenda for sure.
Right.
It's not the purpose for doing it, is it?
No, absolutely not. No, but. Yeah, you never know what's in the future, do you?
Exactly. And also, on that point, he mentioned about being a journalist as well. I'm very anti this thing, because I'm not qualified in any way to be a journalist. I mean, so I don't regard myself as that, although some people sometimes refer to me as one, which I find quite amusing. But I find that's a bit offensive to journalists, because presumably they've been and studied stuff, and we, let's face it, we get away with murder on YouTube. We can say whatever we want. No one has to fact check anything. It's the internet. It's bandit country. So you can't really trust what you hear on it. I mean, I like to be trustworthy, and I know you do too, within the realms of possibility. But if you are, I don't know, a journalist for MCN, if you write something, it's got to be absolutely accurate. In our case, if we say something, like I made a video recently about the Africa Twin, the Honda Africa Twin, I haven't published it yet, it's coming up in the next few weeks, and I go on and on about what great value it is, because it's 14 grand for this bike with all the electronics. I've since found out it's actually 18 grand. So my whole premise of my video is blown, but I cannot be asked to re-edit it, so I shall be publishing it anyway, and loads of people are saying, you got the price wrong. Well, so I'll just write a comment saying, yeah, you're right, I'm wrong, sorry about that, and then I'm done.
We're fallible, do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Whereas a journalist couldn't do that, they'd be fired.
Exactly, yeah. We are not journalists. Already.
So I appreciate that, yeah. Take it all with a pinch of salt.
Yeah, I know some journalist friends of mine, and there is, it's not animosity, there's definitely that them and us thing there, isn't there, between YouTube influencer, Instagram influencer, and
and I understand that for that reason, probably, because they have to be professional. We are amateurs at the end of the day, and I'm very aware of that. I mean, I think that's part of the appeal, actually. We're no different to the people that are watching this video. We're just blokes in our garages that like riding motorbikes. It so happens we occasionally pick up a video camera and stick a video out.
I always say in my reviews, like half the time, I don't know anything about the bike. I don't know. Most of the time, I don't know what type of engine it is. I don't know what electronics it's got. I literally.
That is outrageous, Bruce.
No, but I mean,
No.
I literally get on it and I ride it, and I'll tell
Yeah.
you how I feel when I ride the bike. If you
Yeah.
want the spec sheet, go on the website and have a look, or watch
Yeah,
your
yeah,
vids,
yeah,
because you do the spec to a T.
Well, I always do the specs, but it's a bit tedious. But I'm aware that people use YouTube as a search engine. So if
Yeah.
they want to buy a new bike, they might search up, review of the new whatever, and they might get my video. So I feel it's sort of duty bound to talk about the specs. But I do agree. And at the end of the day, I think the most important thing about a bike is how does it make you feel? I mean, if you just like riding it, a bike is all about the heart, isn't it? If you buy a car, it's a head purchase thing because they tend to be more expensive, and they have to be practical. With a bike, it's all about, for me at least, if you're riding them for fun, then it's all about what does it make? Does it look good? Does it make you feel good to own it?
Yeah.
Does it make you feel cool to ride it? It's all a bit sad, really, but it's true, isn't it?
But that's the reasons why people go out and buy the bike, isn't it?
Yeah, I agree.
Absolutely. John Broadhurst, will you be reviewing the Ducati Street Fighter V4? Yes. If I have to do certain sexual acts to a salesman to take one of those things out, I'm going to do it. That bike ticks my boxes.
Does it?
Just looking at it. Oh, I think it's stunning. Yeah.
That's interesting.
I'm dying to ride one. Yeah.
You see, I don't. It doesn't do anything for me. I think it's. I'm sure it's a brilliant bike because it's based on the V4 Panigale, which I mentioned earlier. I loved. I'm sure
It's
it
a
rides
Ducati
beautifully.
Tuono, basically, isn't it?
Yeah. I think it'll ride beautifully, and if I get the chance to ride one, I'll have a go, and I'm sure it'll be lovely. But the looks of it don't, because in my mind I'm thinking this is just a Panigale without a fairing. I think the Panigale looks so good.
Yeah.
I don't think this is a step up. I'm not saying it's ugly or anything. It just doesn't grab me. I'm not that excited by it.
I just think it's gorgeous. I'm literally drooling when I see it.
Interesting. Well, you have a go first and let me know what you think. I'm sure it'll be lovely, actually. I mean, that V4 engine is lovely, and they've done. I don't know what Ducati have done, but they've made it very easy to ride. And it's the Panigale certainly is. It's I've got the old. I mean, in my mind, it's still brand new, but it's an 899 Panigale, which is 4 years old now. They only made them for about a year or two. But actually, having ridden lots of other bikes, it's blooming difficult to ride. I mean, it's you would really struggle because it's tiny. You're very crunched up. Really uncomfortable, and it's slow speed. It's like riding a jackhammer. It's really noisy.
Sounds delightful.
It's actually louder than the big Panigale. It's just
What's that?
Exactly.
Oh, I thought you was going to
Very good. So it's really hard to ride. But so with the V4, I don't know what they did, but I jumped on that, and suddenly it's a pussycat. You can ride it slow, a bit like the S1000RR.
Yeah.
It flatters your riding. I'm sure they've done that with the new Street Fighter. I'm sure it'll be a lovely bike to ride. So I do want to have a go on one, but the looks of it do nothing for me. But then, like we said before, it's all a subjective thing. It's just our opinion, isn't it, at the end of the day?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's a
If it
personal
works for
thing,
you,
isn't
then
it?
great.
Yeah.
You're wrong.
Paul Webb. Paul Webb, if you could ride to only one place this year, where would it be?
Crikey.
Outside.
To one place. Outside. Exactly. So was it to one place or in one place?
To one place. If you could ride to only one place this year, where would it be?
That's a great question. Have you got an answer? Because I can't think of mine. I need to think about this.
It would have to be somewhere like Spain, Canaries, that sort of thing. Nice,
Yeah, but you've got to ride to it, not in it. You can't fly there and ride. You've got to ride to it. So that would involve you riding through France, wouldn't it? Or getting a ferry to the top.
Yeah,
and then...
that's no dramas. Could do that.
Okay,
no problems.
okay.
I mean, you'll be in the Pyrenees in, 12 hours, 13 hours. Just put your head down, get down on the motorway through France. It's gutty, it's horrible, but you do it. And then bang, you're in the Pyrenees. Do the Pyrenees through northern Spain into the Picos. Yeah, that would do it for me.
Yeah, I sort of agree, actually. I mean, Spain, we're very lucky, aren't we, with regardless of your view on the European Union, let's not get political again, but we are so lucky to be in Europe geographically. We're never going to be moving out of that regardless, that we've got such great countries on our doorstep, and you only have to jump on a ferry or a train, and you're there. So, and Spain is such a great bike-friendly place, isn't it? It's I agree. I mean, northern France is, like you say, is a bit tedious, but there's some of the stuff down to the south is nice, and once you get to the Alps, that's great.
Yeah.
But Spain, is probably the place to go from here, or indeed, dare I say it, Scotland.
You can do a lot
worse.
On the tip of my tongue.
Yeah.
And Wales. There's parts of Wales I think are stunning, but
There's
Scotland.
Well,
Out of the
Wales,
whole nation's Scotland.
in terms of the UK, there's no doubt Scotland is definitely the best, I think. I love riding there, and I was hoping to go back and do the Western Isles this year. I mean, it's the weather's the issue, isn't it? But what a great place to ride, and spectacular. It's just as good as any other country I've ever ridden in. It's just the people are bloody a pain. Anyway, but the countryside...
They're all English and Polish up there now.
But the countryside is great, brilliant. But then, of course, I've never ridden in Ireland personally. I'm sure that's... Have you done Ireland?
Only on my world trip, so literally from Dublin north, and I did a little bit at the top, sort of northeast part of Northern Ireland.
See, that's another thing we could do, couldn't we? I mean, now you're doing this full time, and we've got time on our hands. We should do that. What's it called? The
Wild
coast.
Atlantic Way.
That's the one. Yeah.
I have so many Irish folks that get in touch with me, going, "You've got to come and do that."
Yeah,
and I wanted to do it. I wanted to do it last year, but the whole complaint thing happened at work, and that kiboshed it. And then I was going to do it this year. So
I like the idea of that. That's again another one, a bit like the India one, which might take a bit more organised. But the Wild Atlantic Way, that would be great, wouldn't it?
Man,
and you could do that. You could probably do that in part of it. You could probably do it in a week.
Oh, I
mean,
yeah.
A
week to 10 days, and you could do a real good trip over there.
Yeah,
Right.
that would be great fun. Yeah, let's
You
think
heard it
about
here
that
first, folks.
Yeah, that would be good. Great, yeah, good question.
Oh, we didn't do this one yesterday. Scott Brayley, who was the best moto vlogger and why?
Well, that's obvious. A guy called Elk Phaser 1.
Oh, I've never heard of them.
Ah, well, there you go. You see, you've not been paying attention, mate. Elk Phaser 1. Yep, he rides, or did. He was the guy that got me into the whole... well, when I was learning to ride a bike, he was the YouTuber I watched. Well, actually, him and you, actually, not to want to embarrass you, you're on your Around the World thing. I think it was maybe slightly before you. There was him and there was another guy I watched that I can't remember the name of. But the other guy, I'll get back to Elk Phaser in a minute. The other guy, I wish I could remember his name. He always used to sign off, and at the end of his videos, he would say, "This has been the," and then he would give whatever his name is that I can't remember. So that's where I stole my little sign off when I say, "This has been the Missenden Fly," or whatever I say.
Oh, right.
So I stole that from him. All my stuff is stolen. So he was good, whoever that guy is. I hope he's still alive. And then Elk Phaser 1 was just a really nice bloke. He used to ride in London somewhere. It might have been Croydon, somewhere like that. And he was on a Yamaha Phaser. And he was just an ordinary bloke riding around, and he would talk about, if you get stuck and you need to bump start your bike, this is how you do it. Or if it's really cold and you want to get warmed up, here's some tips about how you get warmed up. And he made, I don't know, he probably only made 30 videos or something, and he had about 3,000 subscribers. But I thought he was brilliant. So his videos are still out there. So if you're bored in these times of trouble, check out Elk Phaser 1. I so hope that he gets a load of subscribers now, because he'll wonder what the hell's gone on, because he doesn't know me and I don't know him. But ELKFAZER 1.
I'll check that out.
And I sort of modelled my YouTube life on him, because he never swore. He was just a nice bloke, and he gave you good advice. I thought he was great. So there was him. There was the guy that I can't remember the name of, who used to sign off with "This has been the," whatever he was. So that's where I got that from. And then there was another one, an Australian guy called Old Man Triple. He's still out there. And he had exactly the same street triple as me, so that's why I used to watch him. And he was an Aussie. He used to live in, I think it was possibly Perth. And he used to talk about news stuff. So it was at the time that Barack Obama had just been voted in. And he would talk about Barack Obama and stuff and ride around. And it was so lovely by the coast with the lovely weather. You know what it's like, the weather here, it's pants. And it was just great escape. But he was on exactly the same bike as me. And he still makes videos, and we're in touch. We exchange messages occasionally via our channels. And again, it amuses the hell out of me, because I can't remember how many subscribers he's got, but it's not as many as me. And now he's like a subscriber of me. I love that serendipitous sort of thing. But so those guys for me, Elk Phaser 1, the guy I can't remember, so that's no good. And Old Man Triple, the best motor vloggers out there.
Check them out.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know if you
TeapotOne. So I just throw that in, because at the same time,
much.
and I'm not just saying this, but at the same time, that was when I was watching you Around the World trip, and I loved it.
Oh, cool, man. Well, I enjoyed it too. Thank you very much for that. I don't know if you'd say they're a moto vlogger, but thingy F9.
F9, Ryan. Yeah, he's good.
Yeah, Ryan. I think I love the production quality of their vids is just stunning. And
unbelievable.
I love the sense of humour. I love the production quality. They're entertaining, and sort of factual as well. I love
Have you
that.
seen his? Did you see the one about the GS being a pants bike?
No,
That'll upset you. That'll upset you.
Somebody did mention that, and I've not.
It was
I've not
me
seen
yesterday.
It yet. Was it you? All right.
Yeah.
I've not seen that one yet, but I do. I love their channel. There's a couple of foreign ones, like European ones that I like. There's a guy called Swiss Biker. I don't know if you've ever seen that. I just love. It's not motovlogging really. When he does a motovlogging one, it's in German, so I can't understand what he's saying, or Swiss or whatever it is they speak.
Yeah.
But he does like these very cinematic montage type trip videos.
Yep.
So they're only 7, 8, 9 minutes long with music, but I just love the production quality of it. And then
7, 8, 9 minutes. We've been on for 2 hours 28.
I know,
Bruce.
yeah. And then there's
This is going to be a marathon.
and then there's Shaft, that
Yeah,
we've
of
met.
course. Yeah.
I genuinely, I'm not just saying that because we know Shaft now. I love his vids. Obviously, a lot of his motovlog stuff again is in German, so I can't understand it. But
Yeah.
I think the bloke is one of the best editors I've ever seen. He's phenomenal.
Very fancy.
Some of his work.
Yeah, good stuff. Yeah.
So for me, I really get into the production side of things, the editing. I look at some of their stuff and think, how have you done that? And then when I dissect it, I can figure out how they've done it, and I think, oh my god, that's so much work just to do that one little thing you've done.
Yeah,
so I
good
appreciate it.
stuff. Yeah. That's
But
great.
there's so many out there now, isn't there? Traditional motovloggers. There's the official Mr. Fish. I've done a fair bit with John now. He's a really good lad. I like John. No nonsense. Says it how it is.
Yeah.
There's so many. Obviously, all of our lot. There's you. You can't get away. You can't get away from the sort of big hitters, can you? Richie Vida, John, Lamb Chops, obviously. You can't get away from that. Yeah. And I still like Baron. Still like Baron von Grumble.
I was going to mention
Al Fagan,
because,
44 Teeth.
Absolutely. Yeah. They're popular for
They're
a
just
reason.
fun videos. Yeah, they're fun.
Absolutely.
I enjoy them.
Yeah. And indeed, Raw Jordanian, who we mentioned earlier, for unknown reasons, but I still dip in and out.
It's just
stuff.
it's sort of captivating viewing, isn't it? It's weird.
Yeah. And he's a nice guy.
He is. Right, that's 2.5 hours. Let's start rounding this up.
Yeah, we probably
Let's
better.
have a look.
I'm going to run out of memory on my PC, let alone downloading it.
Let's try and find a good question for the end then.
Okay, make it a corker.
Okay. Ooh. Is this a good one? If BMW GSs were banned, what bike would you have?
What was that noise? Did you hear that noise then, by the way?
No.
I had a descending noise, like something had stopped. I appear to still be recording. Oh dear. We'll carry on regardless.
Hang on.
Oh, what?
Oh, my audio. Oh, the audio on this has stopped.
Ah, thank goodness I heard it.
I'll get really close and I'll use the audio off of this.
Okay.
Well, why
We've
is
really
that
got to
happened?
wrap up now.
Yeah, I know.
You and your audio, Bruce. I don't know. You're always causing us trouble.
I've drained the battery on that. Wow. GSs were banned.
That's a ridiculous question.
Over to you. You handle that while I have a think.
If GSs were banned, what bike would you have? Well, I mean, it depends what you want to use the bike for, of course. So, I mean, if you want a multi-purpose bike, then you need to find another multi-purpose one. So, for me at the moment, it would be the Tiger 900 that I mentioned I've got in the garage at the moment. I mean, it's a spoiler because I'm going to be doing some videos on that soon. But the Tiger 900 has been a lovely. I like the Tiger 800 that preceded it, and this one is even better. So that for me would probably be the best all-rounder. So yeah, that's top of my list to replace my GS. I mean, if tomorrow, if I had a spare 18 grand, I'd buy another GS. But if
But
I
they're
didn't
banned.
Yeah, exactly.
You
no,
can't
they're
have
banned.
one.
Yeah, I can't have one. So in that case, yeah, it'd be the Tiger 900. Actually.
Tiger 900.
Yeah.
Well, I've just taken out the Ducati 1260 Multistrada SGT, and I really liked that. I really liked it. Not as livable as the GS, but a lot of fun. So for me, it would be between that and the Super Adventure, KTM 1290 Super Adventure.
Yeah, both really performant bikes, aren't they? I mean, the Ducati. I went on the Enduro, isn't it? The 1260 Enduro, the sand coloured one.
Yeah, the big
that
thing.
Was really. I've always been a bit anti Multistrada. I love the way they look, but when I first rode one, which was the original 1200, I think. Well, it wasn't the original, but it was the 1200 was the first I rode. I just found it very top heavy. And that puts me off. If I find them hard to move in and out of the garage, I can't live with them.
Right.
But I don't know what they did in the last couple of years, but that Enduro didn't seem to be so top heavy, and it just seemed a really nice bike. So I've not ridden this standard 1260. I must do that.
It's a beautiful engine, and the rumours are that they're going to move the V4 into the Multistradas. I don't know if that's going to happen, but I've heard that rumour. Yeah,
I've heard that somewhere. Yeah.
Right then, well, seeing as everything is 2.5 hours, seeing as everything seems to be starting to run out of juice now in space, we better wrap that up, Andy. Thank you very much, mate, and I hope all the audios work this time.
So do I.
It's been a lot of fun. I've really enjoyed it.
Great, yeah, it's been good.
And I hope you folks have too. Pleasure, mate. Anytime at all. And I mean that. I'd love to do a live stream with you. That would be
we'll definitely do. Once we can move again, we'll definitely do that. It's a date,
and we'll have a chat about a few trips in the future as well. That sounds a good idea. All the best to the family, mate. I hope everything smooths over and that's all sorted. And stay safe.
You too, mate.
Right, folks. That's us. So I hope you've managed to last the 2.5 hours. Keep safe out there. Keep doing your thing. Look after those that you love, as we always say. But most importantly, remember, this will all end. We will get through this, and we'll soon be out on our bikes. Live your life.